We will be convening our February 20th Board of County Commissioner meeting, and I'm Commissioner Hetherington. I'll be sitting in for Chair Commissioner Jenkins today. Unfortunately, I know he would have wanted to be here, but he can't be here, so I'll be filling in, and I'll do my best. So we're going to start the meeting with our invocation by Reverend Christian Anderson from St. Mary's Episcopal Church. If you'll please join us at the front. And that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Don Klein, U.S. Air Force veteran serving from 1987 to 1992. Don, if you'll stand and you'll follow Reverend Anderson.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you that we have the ability to manage and steward resources, that we have this beautiful land to be stewards of in this county. So we pray for your wisdom. May we become the lesser so you become the greater, and come and serve all the good people of this county. This morning we pray for Sarah and for Don, for Sarah and Edward, for Stacy, for Harold, Doug, and Layla. Move through them, God, with the great responsibility they've been commissioned with, to hear your voice, a voice of love, mercy, justice, and compassion and goodness to this community and beyond. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm not really sure exactly what I'm supposed to tell you, but my name's Dawn, and I think the reason I've done everything I've done is because as soon as somebody tells me I'm too small or too female to do something, I go do it, and I do it better than they do it. So that's my revenge, is success. And I think the best revenge is success, no matter what you're doing. Instead of doing something derogatory, do it better. So that's what I do. And so from roofing to commercial diving, in the Air Force, I was military police. We called it security police on our side. And I was the first female 81 millimeter mortars, fire in the hole for all those that do mortar. And I thought that was fantastic that I got to do that. The round was half my size. So when you throw that in the tube, you know it's going. I got to do 50 cal. I got to do like every weapon. I grew up with a father that was a master carpenter. He got us a couple months a year. And we're either camping and doing it survival with a tent when we went out there, a fishing pole and a gun, and that's it. Or we went and stayed on sailboats at a very old sailboat for 3 months at sea and learned how to survive that way. So he got crazy later, but he was good when he was good. And so he taught me that there's nothing you can't do. I have a twin brother. We were the same size, so we all had to do everything. We all had to clean the dishes. We all had to take care of the yard, the animals, the house, the fishing, the cooking, everything. So to me, I think having a hard life made me better. It made me stubborn. It made me dedicated, and it made me want to do everything that I could, especially when they tell you not to get it. And so I went to non-commissioned officer school, and I said, well, I don't care what y'all say about us. I'm getting the Levittow, and I did. I got it in non-commissioned officer school. It was the best thing that I ever did besides sinking the Vandenberg. So I just want to say that it's the Air Force was a way for me to get out of Dodge and start my life as an adult, to get away from everything. And so I went to another country. I got out. Of course, I'm from Florida, so they sent me to North Dakota to, put me in my place. And then after I froze my butt off, I begged for the Philippines, and there I was for 3 years. And I got greeted by a coup tump, an earthquake, and then a volcano. Yay, that was my send-off back home. So I saved my car, though. Came back with me. But the Air Force was really important because I met so many people from so many places around the world, and each one had a different flavor. And it's like going to different restaurants and learning the cuisine, but this time you get to meet the people who cooked the cuisine and who developed it. And in Okinawa, it was beautiful. The water under Okinawa, Kadena Marina, all those places and all those people that I got to meet, I would have never met them. I met somebody from Palm City, Florida, in the Philippines. And I'd like to say what we called it, but it was plum something. I'm sure people that live there have heard it before. But that was a nickname for teenagers. But somebody's laughing, so somebody must have heard it before. But It was a one-way bridge both ways, and now it's two-lane highway. Two of them, I think. I don't even think I've been on the second big one, but I don't want to keep you long, but the Air Force is important to me, the environment's important to me, the ocean's important to me. I spent 12 years under it after I got out of service to hide, because that's what we kind of do sometimes, just to readjust. If you want to readjust, go down to the bottom of the ocean and get in touch with yourself. Nothing else will matter after that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you being here this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, on our agenda this morning, we have public comment. We have a preset, actually. We're going to do our legislative session update with Miss Sarah Powers because she is going to need to book it back to Tallahassee. We have a 10:30 a.m. preset discussion on the half-cent sales tax for conservation lands. Departmental number 5, additional items, consent 15, approve the State Housing Initiative Partnership, and consent 16, adopt a proclamation designating March 4th through 10th as Flood Awareness Week in Martin County. And there are no consent polls.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
move approval of the agenda with the presets, additional items of C, consent item 15 and 16, and the rest of the agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith to approve the agenda, seconded by Commissioner Smith, or Campy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Jenkins absent. Okay, so we're going to start then with our legislative, we're going to do proclamations, Laura, or legislative update first?
Get going.
Okay, let's go ahead, Sarah, we'll do legislative session update. Good morning.
Good morning.
A lot happening in Tallahassee, eh?
It's been busy. It was nice to have a little reset this week, and I'm headed back right after this. As we said, the car's running. So, here we go. So we're right now at day 42, leaving us with 18 days left of a regular session, ending on March 8th. There's 9 weeks from week 7. So far, there's been 1,900 general bills filed, and 22 of those have been enrolled and placed on the governor's desk. None that we've been tracking so far. Budget conferencing will begin next week. And speaking of the budget, the House budget is sitting at 115. The Senate budget is the same, and the governor's budget coming in a little below that at 114 billion. And so they're about the Senate and the House are about $391 million off from each other, which is pretty good, but leaves a little bit of wiggle room for conferencing next week. So we do expect all of these numbers below for our appropriations to change. Hopefully they all go up, but they might go down, but hopefully not. So in the budget currently, we have our Bessie Creek project in Rep. Overdorf and Rep. Harrell's office for $1 million. Our County Road 710 made it in both budgets. The Sheriff's Office Housing Pod at $1 million. And our Gomez Petway Potable Water Project also made it in the budget. So this is a little update on something that we went up to, Don and Commissioner Smith were up 2 weeks ago in Tallahassee to discuss a little blip we found in the SERP funding. So basically, it just limits the scope of the projects that can be funded in SERP. So we were up advocating. It's not that these are bad projects. We support them all, but some of the problems that some implications that we've discovered would be, messing with the cost share. The feds are close to us in the cost share, so if anything goes sideways, those projects, the money needs to be shifted somewhere else. That would not be a possibility. So we've heard positive. It's the same language in the governor's budget as it is in the House budget. So we'll find out next week. Hopefully they can come to some number agreement and some language agreement that works for everybody. Some highlighted legislation just to go through. Term limits is moving. I have a slide after this, so we'll go over that. Sampling of beach waters and public spaces. That pretty much just gives the DOH more leeway with beach sampling when it comes to bacteria and health and safety of our waterways. There are some preemptions, but I think that they're good, and it's no more strenuous than we already do at the county level. There's a few building regulation bills that would be in effect. HB 267 would change the time frame of when the building department must approve permits. From 120 days to 30 days for certain permits. So that could potentially have a big cost to our county. HB 1537 about vacation rentals. I've spoken with Narissa about this bill. We do support it. There are a few preemptions, but it also does give some power back to local governments with regulating Airbnbs and the hotels and all of that. But mainly Airbnbs and VRBOs. There is an affordable housing fix bill in there, HB 1239 and SB 328. It fixes a few issues, major issues, especially for us, from the Live Local Act. It does clarify density and height restrictions so that, they cannot, in any circumstances, be higher than are already allowed. It does require us to publish a policy and procedures for the administrative approval, so that'll obviously come once this bill is passed. And there's also something that I don't know that it was a big concern to us, but in other counties, there's a neighborhood continuance clause in there, so you can't go into a historic neighborhood and add a 4-story apartment complex in a neighborhood that's historic or is like a community that's all looks the same, basically. That was big down south, I know, with some of the historic.
Commissioner now?
Yeah.
Sarah, Commissioner Hearn.
House Bill 665 is expedited residential building permits. Is that the one that you said is moving from 120 days to,
That's 267.
all right?
So there's a few, and I can get you that language of what it changes, but it just there's just certain.
And House Bill 791 now has a companion bill in the Senate, and is that the one that allows the developer to write their own permits?
Yes.
It's moving?
Yes. It does have a companion, and the sponsors are Perry and Overdorf.
Residents beware.
So we will continue to monitor that one as well. HB 1557, it's exciting for our state. It will designate the Kristen Jacobs Coral Reef Ecosystem Conservation Area as aquatic preserve right off our coast. I know that was important to Commissioner Smith. So it does a few other things. The Department of Environmental Protection package that they pass every year. But I thought that little piece was important. And lastly, there's a few others, but lastly that we're monitoring is the ratification of the statewide stormwater rule. So this was, the legislature passed the Clean Water Act to address a number of environmental issues relating to water quality, importantly, stormwater management. So that's just moving that forward. And so term limits update. So it was agreed upon that it would be 12 years. And last week, they changed it back to 8 years, and it will be heard tomorrow in the Senate, and it seems like 8 years will be the standard for term limits. And that is all I have. If you have any questions, let me know. I can get any bills that you heard today, I can get you the specifics on those. I just wanted to keep it brief and light, not anything.
Anyone have questions? Thank
Well,
you.
just one question. Can you also keep us apprised about the progress on the gambling pack?
Yeah.
I understand that that's going to be used to fund a lot of worthy environmental projects, which is welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sarah, one
Yes.
more. Commissioner Smith.
Sarah, when we were up 2 weeks ago, talking about the Everglades funding, it seemed like there was a significant understanding from our delegation on the importance of it, but it really was targeting specific projects to pull from the funding.
Yes.
Do you think at this point, it's much more of a leverage on something else than it is specifically to do that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Just for the public that may not follow or completely understand,
Yeah.
there's proviso language in the budget that would have stripped basically all the funding from Everglades restoration.
Right. Yeah. So, and it designates them to specific projects, and like we said, you can't, like, the ability to be able to shift if those projects, those, 4 projects go sideways or something happens in the pre-phases, that wouldn't be able to shift anywhere else, and it would be
Well,
significant.
and I think one of the things we shared with everybody that either completely understood or didn't understand, I guess there's a lot of conversation going on between the Corps, not between the Corps and the Water Management District, but in the legislature between what the Corps does and what the legislature, or what the Water Management District does. And what we've seen through the years, at least watching it, there'll be a project that will start out and it'll head in one direction, and it looks like the Corps is going to do that project. And then for whatever reason, bidding-wise, project-wise, scale-wise, they'll shift it over to the Water Management District, and the Water Management will take on something that the Corps was going to do. And it was that flexibility that has worked incredibly well for the last, 5, 6 years or so. And I think explaining that to some of our legislators that may not have completely understood that nuance was important. But anyway, thank you for the update.
Of course. Thank you, Sarah. Safe
Safe
travels. Okay, now we're going to move on with our proclamations. Laura? The first, I'm going to go ahead and announce the proclamation. The first proclamation is the Employee Recognition, Spoten, Peer-to-Peer Recognition and Safety on the Spot.
Yes, I'll
Doing that one?
Yes, I'm going to do that one. So we have 2 employees that we're recognizing today, and I think both of them represent the best of our staff. And they both span both ends of the spectrum in terms of times of service. We have one that's been here a few years and one who's been here over 20 years. So anyway, we're going to start with Terry Williams. And again, these are recognition programs that were initiated from their coworkers. And we celebrated during the year, various times of the year, to talk about both the Spot On program and the Safety on the Spot. And then at the end of the year, we also had employees vote to see who, out of all of those who had run those other boards, who were the best of the best. And to me, I'm very proud of the 2 that were selected. My participation was very minor, other than to, once I saw the recipients, to just be very glad of how it all worked out. And again, they're most representative of your staff. So the first one we're going to talk about is Terry Williams. He was selected as Employee of the Year for our Spot On program. Terry is the Trade Superintendent in General Services Department, our countywide building repair and maintenance division. His coworker wrote the following: Terry has one of the most complex jobs in the department. He is responsible for every piece of HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning equipment at parks and recreation and utilities and solid waste facilities. That amounts to thousands and thousands of pumps, sensors, motors, water heaters, pipes, etc. Terry also manages all of our trade staff and is responsible for weekend and after-hour services. Terry provides excellent customer service and always has a positive attitude. He provides continuous updates on repairs and services to building users and department heads where appropriate. When people see Terry in a building, it's usually because they are uncomfortable. But I can tell you that Terry and his operation always make you feel comfortable, and his expertise in knowing that he will get it done. He also manages to make them feel comfortable, and I don't think he and his staff can be thanked enough for their work and positive attitude. Terry, come on up. So, Employee of the Year, Spot On, presented to Terry Williams in recognition of your outstanding performance and dedication. this year.
Thanks, Terry.
Then we'll let you talk.
Then you can talk. You're all dressed up, but we don't see you dressed up.
One recognizes you.
Congratulations, Terry.
Congratulations, Terry. Would you like to say a couple words?
Thank you.
It's very comfortable in here, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for selecting me as the Employee of the Year. I am honored and grateful. Martin County is a great place to work. I started working here in February 12, 2018 as a HVAC technician at the Holt Correctional Site with Joe, Carl, Rick, Mark, and Bill as my supervisor at the time. I had a blast and enjoy a lot of cake. This recognition means that I have a lot of work to do, and I am up to the challenge. I am looking forward to see how excited the next Employee of the Year will be. Thank you to all the departments. As I close, I would like to share this moment with my wife, Charlene, my children, Alicia and Isaiah, but also with General Services Department, Sean, Kevin, Kristen, Sonny, Bill, all the building supervisors, vehicle maintenance staff, life safety staff, accounting staff, the whole correctional maintenance staff, the trades workers, and maintenance staff. I am sharing this moment with you all, but I will keep the hours of PTO that I receive. Thank you.
Dawn, you're going to do the safety on the spot.
Yeah, so the next one is Jeff Hunter, who's also an Employee of the Year. Because it was a tie, obviously. We had the two excellent employees, and so Jeff is a project manager in the Public Works Department Field Operations Division. And Jeff has recognized, he had recognized multiple accidents that occurred with dump truck tailgates. So he took initiative to develop and facilitate a training class for employees operating heavy equipment. Jeff has extensive knowledge with heavy equipment and takes time to share information and educate his fellow employees. Thanks to Jeff identifying safety concerns and training his co-workers, together everyone can prevent a future accidents with heavy equipment. And so I've also had the pleasure of working with Jeff for a number of years, and he's always been one to show up at storms and helping us solve flooding problems or helping with our beaches, and anywhere we need him, he's always there. So with that, Jeff, come on up. Of the Year, Safety on the Spot, presented to Jeff Hunter in recognition of your outstanding performance and dedication. So come on over. Now, I'm not sure if Jeff had known that he might have to say a word, we would have got him to show up. So, so if you want to say anything.
Where's Terry? Terry, you're killing me, man. No, I just want to say thanks to all the employees that try to make it safe. It's hard out there, working in the roads and the streets and ditches and swales. So everybody that I work with deserves this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations to you both. And Laura, you want to present the proclamation for the House of Hope commemorating their 40th anniversary.
Absolutely. Good morning, Commissioners. House of Hope is a community service agency founded in 1984 that empowers Martin County residents to overcome hunger and hardship. The agency provides support for basic needs, including food, clothing, and financial assistance, as well as life skills through programs and classes in education, health and nutrition, job readiness, the arts, and more. Throughout 2024, House of Hope is celebrating its 40th anniversary of empowering our community, and in celebration of this occasion, the board commends House of Hope for the services they provide to those most in need. And here to accept, we have Rob Ranieri, CEO of the House of Hope.
Morning, Commissioners and staff. Thank you very much for acknowledging this milestone for House of Hope. We certainly appreciate that. A lot of great things happening still in our organization. We are putting the finishing touches on another greenhouse out at our production farm. That'll put us over 92,000 cubic feet of hydroponic growing space. All of that food is coming back out into the community through our pantries and through our partners. There's still a lot of need and a lot of challenges that our neighbors are facing. House of Hope will continue to try to lead the charge in problem solving and creative solutions to deal with those issues. I also want to take a moment to thank the commissioners and certainly the county staff for all of your support through CARES, through ARPA, not just to House of Hope, but to many nonprofit organizations. Those efforts and that support certainly made a difference for us to be able to meet the expanded needs that we've been facing for the last several years. So we certainly couldn't have done it without you. I'd like to invite each of you to come out and take a look at the farm when you have some time. I know some have been and some have not. Thank you, Commissioner Campy, for your support as the farm's in the Palm City community, and we've been able to tap into you for some resources over the years, so we certainly appreciate that. And again, I just want to give you, I'll end with our pledge at House of Hope. Our staff, our board, our partners, we're going to continue to do the best we can to help our neighbors that are most vulnerable in the community, and we're looking forward to the next 40 years.
Chair, if I might, House of Hope, we are so fortunate in our community for 40 years to have the House of Hope. I think what is most remarkable is that people that are suffering in our community don't have to feel embarrassed for the services that they receive. Rob and his team have created a pantry that's more like a supermarket so that families and their children can go in there with respect. They have also taken the pantry idea of food banks and things like that and realized that it can't all be food that comes in a can or a box or a jar. Very few food pantries that I have seen and heard about have gone to the level of farm to table, if you will, or the natural and nutritious items that not only did Rob and his team, get as donations from grocery stores, they took that level to the next level and started growing their own, and now also have a packing house and Gleam and other farms in the area. What they are doing quietly throughout the community is absolutely remarkable and a huge benefit for all. And if you're not familiar with House of Hope, it's definitely a worthwhile organization to support, either with your finances or with your time. So thank you very much. Like a prom picture.
Okay. Now Laura is going to introduce the Declaring 211 Awareness Month in Martin County.
Tens of thousands of people reach out to 211 Helpline every year. During these challenging times that seem increasingly uncertain, 211's highly trained and accredited staff continue to be frontline responders available 24/7. And 211 is that central access number where individuals and families, people of all ages and walks of life, can find life-saving crisis support, guidance, and hope. 211's caring staff listen to each and every person to provide available resource options and help them strategize and problem solve. In recognition of February as 211 Awareness Month, the board encourages all citizens to be aware that if they are overwhelmed and in crisis or just need to talk, 211 is available any time of the day or night. And here to accept, we have Chad Adcock, who is our 211 Community Outreach Representative.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Commission and staff, for recognizing 211 Awareness Month. Anytime I'm given the opportunity to speak publicly about the life-saving work that 211 does, I have this internal struggle of I'm saying the same thing over and over again, and also knowing that there are people out there who still don't know, and that there is hope out there, and that there are these resources that are available. So for those that may not know, 211 has been the helpline and crisis line in this area for more than 50 years. So answering those calls for anyone who doesn't know where to turn to face whatever storm they might be facing, literal or metaphorical storms, we're here. We're doing that life-saving work and advocacy every single day. In fact, we're in the process of totaling up our 2023 calls, but somewhere just north of 15,000 calls every year come from Martin County residents alone. And we know that the mental health struggle is real. We know that process is ongoing and will be going on for a long time. Somewhere around 30% of our calls involve some type of mental health component, and then about 10% of those calls involve even a suicidal aspect as well, if persons feeling suicidal. So we know that those calls are there, and also other issues that we're starting to see, just like with the House of Hope. Food shortages are starting to become more and more of a common occurrence for our residents, and housing, affordable housing issues, which we always talk about. So nothing that I'm saying here today is any different than what you all know. And I just want to encourage anyone who's struggling at any point and it may be anyone. It could be me, it could be you, it could be anybody that you know, your neighbor, your friend. If they don't know where to turn to, they can reach out for free. It's confidential. We're there 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and we're able to have the highly trained staff that are there to listen, to make assessment and make referrals to whatever resources that are available. So again, I encourage everyone to reach out, and I appreciate you making the recognition today.
He would almost hit his head on the TV.
Laura, do you have something for Engineers Week that you want to?
I do. Do you want me to go ahead?
Go ahead and present Engineers Week.
Engineers design, construct, and maintain the infrastructure and facilities that contribute to a high quality of life for all Martin County residents. The Florida Engineering Society's purpose is to advance the public welfare, promote the professional, social, and economic interests of engineering professions, and stimulate and develop engineering professional concepts through education and excellence in practice. In recognition of Engineers Week, which is February 18th through the 24th, 2024, the board expresses appreciation to all members of this important industry for their contributions. And we did find out this morning that Brian Arnold, who was supposed to be here, is unable to come. So we will get this sent to him.
Okay, well, thank you for that, and congratulations to Brian Arnold. So with that, we're going to move into the public comment portion of our meeting, and many of you I see in the gallery have made public comments before, but our rules are we have 3 minutes for public comment, and you will hear a short tone just as your time is wrapping up. It means that you have a few more moments prior to the time, and then you will hear an end tone. So if you hear something that somebody has already said and you don't wish to repeat it, then you're welcome to use your 3 minutes or just reference a prior comment. And I believe Don has a statement that he would like to read.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Since we are in election season, politicking is prohibited, which is defined as advocating the election or defeat of a candidate for public office, either partisan or nonpartisan. This includes the use of words, dates, signs, props, and/or wearing apparel that conveys a message of support for a person or group of persons. Thank you.
Okay. I have about 4 that I've set aside that have indicated they want to speak during an agenda item. If I call your name and you don't wish to speak during public comment, and would rather defer to the agenda item, please just say so. Our first speaker of this morning will be Casey Darling Niffen, and on deck, we will have Macy June Dorr. Hope I pronounced that correct. Agenda item, which agenda item?
Ballot referendum.
Okay. That is going to be, so we will have Macy June Dorr.
Oh, look at that.
Morning, Macy.
Good morning, you can.
Hello everyone, my name is Maisie. I'm in 3rd grade and I'm a river kid. I'm here today because I'm worried about the river. When polluted water from Lake Okeechobee reaches our river, it can be very harmful to the animals that live there. The murky water makes it hard for the animals to survive. Water entering the ocean can harm the animals living there too. It also means that we can't swim in the water. It's time to send the water south. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for being here. Our next speaker is Finley Dorr. Following Finley, we will have Mark Perry. He's going for PH, or departmental number 5? Okay, Mark Perry.
Morning, Mark.
I think the previous speaker said it all, basically, what I was going to address, but you know why I'm here, and that is because just Saturday they started the major discharges from Lake Okeechobee into the northern estuaries, particularly about 5,800 CFS over the next 14 days and probably over the next 6 weeks until April 1st, is bringing 3.7 billion gallons of unneeded water from Lake Okeechobee into the estuaries. As soon as that started happening, within 2 days, the salinities at Roosevelt Bridge dropped from about 20 to 25 parts per thousand down to 5 parts per thousand, almost fresh water, which is 0. And it's going to stay that way. And if it stays that way longer than 20 days or so, the oysters start to expire. So we're going to lose a lot of oyster reefs. We're going to lose a lot of seagrass beds. And we've been trying to advocate to have the Corps put this water south, even back in October last year when it jumped up past 16 feet. And we knew we were in an El Nino season. We were trying to get the Corps and the district to put this water south. We're having them come at the Rivers Coalition meeting on Thursday to kind of go over this. I did meet out on Saturday morning. Actually, Colonel Booth was out there at the site when they started the discharges, and he was answering questions and was available, so I present that. But I think this body goes way back, and I wanted to kind of give you a handout. Pass it down. This is from the official records of Martin County. This is like December of 15th of 1930. This is when this Board of County Commissioners took an action and passed a resolution to basically write to the Internal Improvement Trust Fund to close the gates of the lake discharges that are coming into the St. Lucie Canal. For the reason is that the discharge's large volume and dirty water into the St. Lucie River killed all of the shellfish, driven all the saltwater fish from the river, filled the river with hyacinths, and so polluted the St. Lucie River as to completely taken away its attractive features and ruin its commercial value. This is in 1930. And this commission, along with all the residents of Martin County, have been trying to fight this and stop these discharges soon. I encourage maybe we need to write to the commanders-in-chief, both for the Corps and also our governor to the district, to encourage them to got to stop these releases to these estuaries and put the water south. I know there are future plans. We've all been working on trying to plans to stop this for years, but now is the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Commissioner.
I think Mr. Perry makes, as usual, perfect common sense, and I would make a motion that we craft a letter. Look, a letter is not going to necessarily stop it, but I don't think, when we all read that information, for us as a board and as a community to sit silently and just say, okay, I guess that's what's going to happen. At the very least, we should write a letter to all of the parties that have some say in this, because as Mark said, 20 days, once you start getting north of 20 days, we're going to be in a big, big problem. And it's only been 100 years, I think. Maybe we can continue to at least not sit silently and just take it. We could at least yell back. Thank you.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Campy. Dawn, are you clear on the motion to write a letter to all the parties that?
I am clear on that motion.
And a second by Commissioner Hurd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Jenkins absent.
It carries 150 to 0. Everybody in the room.
So our next speaker is going to be Emily Pryor, and Emily will be followed by Tom Kempenny.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm speaking about the referendum to include the half-tax ballot in November. I'm a resident of Hope Sound. Thank you for considering the referendum to give Martin County voters a chance to decide whether to allocate funds to protect critical natural habitats in our beautiful county. Since the 1960s, I've spent time in Martin County on Jupiter Island with my family, and I'm blessed now to live in the town of Hope Sound. Because I care deeply about the natural resources and open space of this special county, I attended the public meeting on January 18th when the updates to the comprehensive plan were presented. I was amazed by the public support for conservation. The number one community concern the EAR discovered was the desire to protect the county's western lands from development. Number two was the concern for next generation in terms of climate change, to look at future and protect natural and agricultural lands. Number three was to thoughtfully determine where growth and development should go. We're fortunate that Martin County Forever, the initiative, has carefully planned an effective approach to generating and allocating funds to purchase some of the most vulnerable and important natural land in our county. I hope the Commission will decide to allow this future thinking and practical referendum on our ballot in November. Thank you.
We have Tom Kempenny, and Tom will be followed by Darlene Van Riper.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair, Commissioners, Don, Sarah. I'm here to speak on behalf of the referendum. I'm not taking sides whether you should vote for or against it, but I think it needs to go on the ballot. I think the Martin County residents and voters should be the ones that decide if they are going to have their tax money pay for this initiative. At some point, I would be glad to say that I will vote for it, but this is not the day. The day today is for you to allow the taxpayers and voters of Martin County to do so. The referendum was crafted by staff. Thank you, Sarah and Don. They worked very hard on it. Martin Forever worked very hard on getting it this far. So I'm going to say it deserves to be heard, and it deserves that the taxpayers and voters will once again decide whether they're going to just complain or they're going to tax themselves to save these environmentally sensitive lands. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Darlene Van Riper, and Darlene will be followed by Michael Circus.
Good morning.
Morning.
Darlene Van Riper, representing the 73-year-old Martin County Taxpayers Association for the Citizens. The Martin County Taxpayers Association has decided to support having a referendum for a half-cent sales tax to buy specific conservation land in Martin County. Martin County Taxpayers Association is not endorsing the proposal, but believes the voters of Martin County should decide whether they want to tax themselves a half cent for 10 years to acquire sensitive environmental lands. The reasons are as follows. The areas to purchase are clearly enumerated in the ordinance, and they have already been declared environmentally sensitive lands by the federal government, the state government, or other professional agencies charged with assessing which properties to be included in that category. One of the largest complaints we've heard about the last sales tax was that the commission used the money for things that were not intended. In an effort to minimize such a problem, the sponsoring group, Martin County Forever, has also written in the documents about the creation of a Citizens Review Board. Martin County Taxpayers Association will have a dedicated seat on that board. We will not hesitate to make the taxpayer aware of any attempt to circumvent the intention of the referendum. Martin County Taxpayers Association believes that this is a well-written referendum and that the resolution is tightly crafted to leave little wiggle room for either staff or the commission. That will ensure that they will adhere to the intent. We are not encouraging a vote either in support or against. What we are saying is that the voters should decide. That's up to them. We also would caution the commission not to tinker with the language or introduce other areas or reasons to spend the dedicated sales tax during deliberations. If we see that they have changed the text to include other needs, then we may take a different position on any changed proposal. If the voters believe that buying the land is in the best interest of Martin County, then they can cast an affirmative vote. This referendum was the product of a group of citizens who considered that this is the best way of protecting ecologically sensitive lands. In our view, the commission should allow the people to decide whether to tax themselves or not for this purpose. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Michael Circus, and Michael will be followed by Joette Lorian Rice.
Good morning, Mike Circus from Palm City. Excuse me while I'm reading for a second. The first airplane seen in Stewart were a pair of U.S. Navy amphibious landed in the St. Lucie River during World War I. For almost a decade after that, the only place in the area, which is Martin County, where an airplane can land was on the water. The two Navy biplanes were assigned to patrol the southeast coast of Florida each day, looking for submarines. Starting in Miami, they would arrive in Stewart about noon and land in the river for refueling at the Gulf Oil Company docks near the railroad bridge. Miss Anita Parks Morrison, whose father, George W. Parks, was Gulf Oil Company agent, recounts an incident that occurred on one of those landings. You can find the rest of that story, page 442 of this book, History of Martin County. It's a really cool book. It's over 500 pages thick. I've used this in research at Florida A&M University. I've used this in my master's program at Liberty University. I've used it in research with the Martin County Farm Bureau, and I probably have to take my shoes off to think about how many other organizations I've used this book in, which is quite impressive for a book that's been out of print for 50 years. 1975, this was printed. We got a lot of history that we've left off the table. And as we approach the centennial celebration, I know there's discussion later today for a book, 144-page estimated coffee table book, cost about $8,000 to do the design work. I'd highly suggest before we marry to this idea, and I love coffee table books, pictures are awesome, but Google gives us a lot of pictures. We have an opportunity that we can actually put some real history into a real book. So before marrying to that, I would suggest you kick this idea over your Historic Preservation Board, give them an opportunity to put together some ideas, and we can put together a formative plan so we can have an actual quote, an actual idea of what we want to do for the centennial before we get married into something just because the centennial is coming up. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Mrs. Rice, and Ms. Rice, you'll be followed by Harry MacArthur.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joette Lorian Rice, Martin County Historic Preservation Board. In 2003, you created our Historic Preservation Ordinance and created the board that I serve on, and I thank you for that. One of the most important things that I think we have done as a board is Historic Preservation Month, because one of our duties under your ordinance was to promote the awareness of historic preservation. So, it became bigger and bigger every year until COVID hit. I think we had 40 events the year before COVID hit. It's back up to 22 again, so we're doing good. But I'm not here today to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the centennial. we have a very important birthday celebration coming up, as you know, in 1925, and, in 2025, and it's our 100th birthday. And as you know, some of the dates, it was on May 28th that Martin County was, the bill was passed by the Senate, 26-4, and then it was going for the governor's signature. And this was an actual newspaper that Sandy Thurlow gave me, Martin County Wins. And I just found it very exciting to see that newspaper. And in the past, they've had celebrations of the centennial, done whole newspaper sections. This was the 50th anniversary when newspapers were really big newspapers, that T.C. Palm did. But what we talked about the centennial yesterday at our board meeting, and we wanted to tell you that next year, for Historic Preservation Month, the month of May, when the bill was signed and the governor signed it into law and we became a county, that the board is willing to do Historic Preservation Month totally about the centennial and get all our partners in preservation, the city of Stuart, all of the organizations, and try to make each event about the centennial. But I also we wanted to offer some other ideas. There are things that we've done in past years or that I've seen done in Miami for the centennial. And you're probably already planning to do this, but that you declare 2005 the centennial year in Martin County and brand all events with an impressive centennial logo so that we have something to remember. I still have my plate from Miami with the Art Deco logo that they created for the centennial there. We could ask T.C. Palm to do. Now, we know they're not going to do a whole giant section like that, but they can do some kind of insert or help us to advertise the events, and they've been very happy to do that in the past, and I think just meeting with the editor there and trying to see that it's good for them too, because they'll get a lot of advertising. This whole issue here from 1950 is full of advertising. Do something special on August 5th, which is the day we were actually incorporated. Have a Founder's Day party or picnic where people can dress up as their favorite historic character, which we've done in the past here. Have a parade with floats from Martin County. In 1950, they did it on Veterans Day. So, maybe we could work together with the veterans and organize the parade. In any event, but in closing, a centennial celebration is an acknowledgement of Martin County's place in history. It can be used to promote Martin County's achievements, history, and cultural heritage.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Thank you, yes. It sounds like you've just signed up to volunteer for a lot.
Well, I don't think I signed up for that. It'd be nice if the county designated or hired a consultant or had somebody to work on.
Thank you for all those thoughts. So our next speaker is going to be Harry McCarthy, and Harry is going to be followed by Tom Pine. Good morning.
Hello, thank you, Commissioners, for letting me speak today. Thank you for your service, and thank you for doing such a great job for Martin County. We are the best county in the country, and it's all because of your work and everything else, and we thank you for it. You know what? Everybody comes up here to complain. I'm going to come up here to thank you, because I'll tell you what, it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of biting your tongue to sit back there, so I thank you for that. I'd like to say I'd like to put my 2 cents worth in for Martin County forever. I think it's needed. I think we are in that point that we don't want to be like the other counties, and if we could get the half-cent tax and we could buy this land and possibly have trails in it and maybe mountain bike trails, I think it would help people, and we wouldn't have the problems that other counties have because of mental illness and everything else. I think getting outside and all that stuff is so good for us, and so that's one of my 2 cents worth for it. I think it is. Another thing I'd like to say is, employee housing. Vail is doing things with employee housing for people if they're willing to let their guest house or employees stay in guest houses or places on their property, they give a tax break. It's another thing we need to look into. They shuttle people in and out of there from an hour away, in and out for housing. Now, they say it's not working great, but we got to look at something. So if we could even do something in Indiantown or whatever, I don't know what it is, but thank you so much. Now, one more thing. Am I up?
Oh, you got time.
With Nathaniel Reed, we were working on a plan to run pipes underneath the Jupiter Island and Hudson Island to let more salt water in, and before he passed away, and that's another thing we should look into, possibly something like that to try to get some more fresh salt water in there for our seagrass beds and for our oyster beds and that stuff, and it's just other things to think about. I'm just a burger flipper, but you know, anything we can do, I mean, something off a reef off of Bathtub Beach, something like that, I don't know. But thank you for your time. You folks are wonderful. Thank you for all you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
And
Harry.
for Sarah Woods, if you want to walk the streets of gold, roll, Ty, roll. Love you. And you, special place in my heart. I'm on them all the time.
Thank you, Harry. Our next speaker will be Tom Pine, and Tom will be followed by Lorraine Kaiser.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Tom Pine. I presently live in the Jensen Beach area. Once again, this county commission will use the consent agenda to approve $13,728,317 in expenditures from taxpayers between January 22nd and February 4th, 2024, without identifying the payees or the purpose of the payment. Using the consent agenda to hide where our tax dollars are being spent is how taxes have gone up 144% in 7 years without any accountability to the taxpayers. I speak for those of us that make around the median wage and down, those of us that have almost no representation on our county government. Today, a proposed ordinance would improve an additional half-cent sales tax, raising the state and local sales tax in Martin County to 7% to be used primarily for acquisition of land for preservation and conservation. During the budget meetings, the people that spoke representing various HOAs spoke about a high percentage of their long-term residents were having trouble making ends meet. With that said, I am speaking against the proposed half-cent sales tax increase until our county government can show that they have the ability to govern within a firm budget, which has been elusive for decades. At present, we are nearly $10 million in debt. CRAs seem to play by different rules than the average taxpayer in Mountain County does. At the last county commission meeting, I spoke about the Community Redevelopment Investment Program, which is just another con job on the taxpayers of Martin County. This past week, I checked with the building department, and guess what? No permits have been pulled on for either of the buildings in downtown Jensen Beach that got grants totaling $37,740. According to the building department, permits are required to replace windows, doors, and shutters. So do any of the businesses that got grants from Martin County totaling $84,221,000.57 pull permits where they are needed, or are permits just for the average guy? Headlines in the Palm Beach Post: West Palm Beach wants to drill, baby, drill. Not for oil, but for water. The city of West Palm Beach wants to tap the brackish Florida aquifer with 30 wells to subsidize the vulnerable surface water supply, and a move that would require building an expensive desalination plant. I have a rhetorical question for our county attorney. Is it moral for a sitting commissioner to have firefighters collect signatures to get on the ballot for your election at the county fair? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tom. Our next speaker is Lorraine Kaiser, and Lorraine will be followed by Butch Olson. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me, County Commissioners. I really appreciate everything that you do. I'm a resident of Stewart, and I'm also one of the architects of the Martin County Forever Initiative. I'm really hoping that you all will give us an opportunity to let the voters decide. I thank you for the opportunity to address you today, to advocate for this cause, not only that it's vital for the community, but for the entire state of Florida and beyond. I'm here to propose the inclusion of a crucial proposition on the 2024 ballot, one that calls for the acquisition of 46,000 acres of wetlands and natural habitats in the largest estuary in North America, which we are all so blessed to live in and to protect. As we all know, Florida is home to some of the most unique and diverse ecosystems in the world. Our state's beauty lies not only in sandy beaches and vibrant cities, but also in the richness of its natural habitats. The estuary we're discussing today is a treasure trove of biodiversity, housing countless species of flora, fauna, many of which are endangered or threatened. And I think the little young girl who got up here said it for all of us. I know we all care, and we care about the birds, and they have, all these animals have no voice. We have to be the voice for them. We have to be the voice for the ocean. We have to be the voice for these amazing wetlands. By acquiring these 46,000 acres, we have an opportunity to make a lasting impact on the preservation of our environment. This proposition is not just about protecting land, it's about safeguarding the delicate balance of our ecosystem. Wetlands play a crucial role in maintaining water quality, preventing flooding, and habitat for countless species. They act as the kidneys. They help clean our environment, our landscape, they filter pollutants, and they ensure a substantial environment for both wildlife and human communities. Preserving this vast expanse of wetlands is not only investment in our environment, but also for the well-being of our citizens. These wetlands act as a natural barrier against storm surges and floods, offering a level of protection that no man-made infrastructure can really replicate. I hope for future generations that we can all be the good stewards that I think we are. I really encourage you to vote not only with your heart, but with your mind and with this community in mind. I think you all are very aware how many wonderful organizations like Rivers Coalition, like Mark and Oceanographic Society, we all really do care. Please let the citizens vote, and I thank you very much for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Butch Olson, and Butch will be followed by Bill Flynn.
Butch Olson for Osher. Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. So Butch Olson representing the Port Center Dock Authority. I'm here today to express our support for the proposed upland facility for the Port Center Manatee Pocket Mooring Field. Sorry, that was long-winded. So we've supported the mooring field since the beginning. Our organization exists to support the commercial fishermen of Martin County. However, we also support working waterfronts, the marine industries, public access, and boating as a whole. So we understand the importance of this facility for the mooring field. Although I'm sure it's been done in good faith, this upland property has been referred to as a park. With all due respect, I mean it's 2 benches and a table on a grassy patch and behind extremely dense mangroves with no waterfront view. So we understand the benefit that this land will give to the mooring field. So I also want to take a moment to compliment your staff. We've been working with Martin County staff on a couple items recently, and Martin County staff has been extremely professional and has really listened to us. And, we always hear about when things are going wrong, and our organization has pointed out things that we felt were going wrong in the past too. But when people are doing their job and really listening to the citizens and just doing things right, that deserves recognition as well. So I just want to give you folks that feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Butch. Our next speaker is Bill Flynn, and Bill will be followed by Jackie Thurlow-Lippisch.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Commissioners, good morning. This meeting, my purpose to you today is to speak about myself and Sailfish Sands Golf Course. And I want to thank you, almost a year late, because I appeared before you last year asking you regarding Sailfish Sands to change the status that tenants who live here could also get the favorable rate to play at Sailfish Sands, or the resident rate, and you okayed that. Now, this year, my concern here, or my reason for being here in front of you, is that yours truly, Bill Flynn, has been booted off the Sailfish Sands Golf Course. I was riding a bike on the cart path, not on the golf course, but on the cart path, and I was told not to do it again. I did not do it again, and just the same, they booted me off. I had a sheriff come to the house last in January, and to my condo, and they, of course, maintained after I had checked with them that I was still on the course, even though I was riding my bicycle in the parking lot, because I was on the sidewalk in front of the restaurant. I think you all know where that restaurant is. And on the sidewalk, they maintained, correctly or incorrectly, that was part of the golf course, and therefore I was riding my bike again on the golf course, and I was a trespasser. And for this reason, I'm asking you to overlook that, or override that booting me off and allow me to play golf there at Sailfish Sands again for the foreseeable future. That'd be a nice birthday present for me. I'm about to turn 84.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And we'll have someone from staff look into it.
Sounds very good. Thank
Have
you a
your
lot.
contact information.
Thanks for your time.
And our next speaker is Jackie Thurlow Lippish, and that will be all of the cards I have for public comment. Jim, did you want a departmental number 5? Yes. Okay, one moment, and I'll address all the other cards. Go ahead, Jackie.
Good morning, honorable commissioners and staff. I'm Jackie Thurlow Lippish. Today, I'm here as a lifetime resident of Martin County, Florida. You might not be able to tell from where you're standing, but I am wearing earrings that are the catch and release pin made in 1941 by the Sailfish Club of Martin County. That indeed is what inspired the logo behind your desk. And I'm bringing that up today because the land and the water are connected. Martin County has a great legacy of conservation. Martin County was the first to catch and release sailfish. My mother has a story in one of her books, I think the Stewart one, about how 5,000 sailfish were caught. And it was over a 3-month period of time, but it was the most ever caught, and it was right before they created this conservation pin. And about half of them were killed and thrown back into the ocean. And that terrible experience was what inspired Kurt Whitaker and others to draw the pin for conservation of these waters. I feel like we're at that same point today with our lands, and I want to thank you, all of you. I know those of you who've been here for a long time especially have done a lot for lands already, and you've just done more for lands already. Please give Martin County residents an opportunity to do more. It is our legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay, I have a couple items. So Rob, I have your card to speak on an agenda item 3 Lakes. Would you like to speak now? Okay, come forward. Carol, I have 2 cards for you. I have one for PH1. And do you want to do the public comment now? So I will take you after Rob, Carol.
Thank you, Commissioners. For the record, Rob Ranieri. I noticed on the agenda today, you'll be talking about 3 Lakes Golf Course, and I just wanted to add something that probably is not in all of the applications and reports that you read. For a while now, the team at 3 Lakes has been working to learn about the community through the eyes of several of our leading nonprofits, including House of Hope, and basically has supported all of us very generously in our missions. And I just wanted to kind of make that aware of you. They've done all that without any expectations from us, not looking to get their names on things or, have us wave the flag for them or anything like that. They just did it because they learned about the community, they learned about our work, and they're trying to be good partners. I think that says a lot about the character of their leadership and their approach to community, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention for your consideration today. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak, and have a great day.
Okay, Carol, I have 2 comment cards for you for departmental number 5 and PH1. Okay, perfect. Ellen, if you would like to speak during public comment, I'll take you next. Ellen?
Good morning.
Good morning.
PH1, Agenda Item 24-0608, CPA 22-09, Exhibit A, Chapter 18, Community Redevelopment Element has changes to the CRAs, which are community redevelopment areas. This is the main part that should be revised and some reversals made. I live near Port Salerno, which is a CRA. It has some good changes, many are not. In too many instances, a cash payment can be made in lieu of moving something somewhere else, allowing something else to be built in place of what was there, or not doing anything at all. I think there's a bit too much infill development and redevelopment planned. Now accessory dwellings can't be placed behind a single-family home or townhome. This denies the homeowner a place for an aging family member to live, no extra income from rentals to pay for a mortgage or outrageous home insurance. It decreases some affordable rentals and encourages more building along with more expensive rentals. Please keep residential and commercial development separated properly. The goal is to achieve a compact, walkable, small-town urban form. Why would a green building or other infrastructure practices be allowed to replace designated community gathering spaces? We need them, some of them. 18.4A.32, number 3 is struck out. It was to provide community open space located to achieve a network of small open spaces connected by sidewalks, bicycle trails, or walking paths. That would have protected the small shops and the small spaces along the Port Salerno boardwalk. Very harmful deletions are in Objective 18.4B. Is to facilitate compact, walkable, urban development while advancing the preservation of no less than 25% of native upland habitat. Just about all the policy numbers and wording in a few have been eliminated. It's a prime example of the pay cash in lieu of. Doesn't seem to me you want to preserve much. Objective 18.4C. This good part says encourage public access to the waterfront, preserve shoreline mangroves, protect shoreline stability, and reduce non-point source water pollution. Exhibit B, Objective 2.2B, preserves the native upland habitat used by threatened and endangered plant and animal species. It seems there's a greater effort to ensure that a minimum of 25% of this type of upland native habitat is protected. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Ellen, I'm going to take you as our next speaker. And Jim, did you want to speak during public comment or during the item? Jim Moyer. Okay, very good. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners, and I thank you for hearing me. I am a resident of Port Salerno. I was here in the 70s, but we came back in 85, so I'm not a native. But I strongly support everything that Port Salerno is doing. As a member of the NAC, I feel I have the right to state strongly to object to the plans of the Manatee Park along our waterway to build a 20 by 40 building for the mooring field. This is not in keeping with our plans to keep our waterfront free for residents and tourists to enjoy. A place, a bike, in a rack, sit at a table, even enjoy a meal while having full view of the water, watching the boats, birds, fish jumping, and even dolphins. I have been told by residents the history of this park was given in a will to always remain as a park. We've heard a lot this morning about preservation of parks, of preservation of our lands. And so if you take away this park, there is no other place around the Manatee Pocket in order to look at the water, unless you're in a busy restaurant. It needs some help, yes. We strongly believe that there's a lot that could be done to enhance it. This is keeping in the best interest of Salerno and our quaint fishing village to keep the Manatee Park and look for another spot for this facility. We don't say that we shouldn't have a facility, but using our park is not in our best interest. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you, Ellen. Kim Singleton, would you like to speak on the item or during public comment? I'll speak now. Okay. The item.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Kim Singleton. I live in Port Salerno on Park Drive, about 200 feet from the proposed upland facility. I am caught between my Port Salerno friends. Surprised when Butch Olson was so enthusiastic about it, and I share Ellen's concerns. Here's the thing. As near as I can tell, out of concern for boats that were anchored and not safely so, it was deemed appropriate, and everyone would agree, that mooring field was a preferable way to have boats out in the harbor. What we in the neighborhood didn't know was that the state grant required an upland facility, and on some particular terms. First, we really began to pay attention to it, that I know of, was back in an NAC meeting in June, when we heard the words, "We're in the cone of silence with negotiations. Can't tell you anything, but we're working on an upland facility." That was about the same time that we were told the negotiations had failed. Still weren't able to be told what the negotiations were, but in the context of failure, gee, we're going to have to build one ourselves. It's 6 months later. You are asking later today to rezone some land in order to make this facility possible. But you're not telling us, staff's not telling us, park department's not telling us the whole picture. Can't see a picture of the proposed building, can't see an aerial view of where it will go, can't see anything about the plans for what remains of the park, haven't had responses to can the fishermen use the facility, can park visitors use the facility. No, we're being asked to say yes to one narrow thing with no answers to all the rest. That's not fair. That's just not fair to the residents of Port Salerno. You've got a trailer, it meets the temporary requirement, it can be towed away if it's the wrong thing to do. Stop rushing to build a building. Stop rushing to fix a failed negotiation with a permanent building at the same time that the neighborhood can't even figure out what's going on. If your staff can't give us a picture of the building, if your staff can't tell us what remains of the park, what the rules are going to be, why should we agree to go down this road without an endpoint in view? Please, leave the trailer where it is, go back to the drawing board, at least come to us with a total plan before you ask our consent. Thank you.
Paul Owens, do you want to speak during departmental number 5, Paul Owens, or would you like to speak during public comment?
I'll speak during the item, thank you.
Okay, and then I have Linda Fithian.
I'll speak now, thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Linda Fithian from Palm City. It's nice to see you all. I just have a couple of general comments that I'd like to say. And one of them is, I've mentioned this to you before, when it comes to zoning, people who purchase lands, when they purchase it, they know what zoning they have purchased. And then they come and they apply and they ask you to change the zoning. And I ask you to please keep in mind that people buy properties, have properties, because they know around them it's zoned a certain way. So when you vote to change the zoning on people who already owned property, and it's not very good for the neighbors that are surrounding that, I ask that you really consider that before you approve zoning because a developer or someone who bought the property wants it rezoned for them. And then I know there's items on the comp plan as far as changing things on the comp plan. Again, I know that many of you have lived here in Martin County for a long time, and I know that you all want Martin County to stay the way it has been. And so when you go and you make changes to the comp plan, please consider that agricultural lands cannot come back once they get developed. We just don't have that. And I understand that there's a lot of agricultural lands that can't really anything be done at this point, But maybe in a number of years, there'll be something that'll come up that it could be used for agricultural. So I ask that you really consider what you're doing when you change the comp plan. And the third thing I wanted to, third thing I wanted to say is with the tax increase, I'm not advocating for or against, but what I want to say is that when the state requires you to report lands that are owned by Martin County. I don't remember if it's on a yearly basis. I think it's every other year. So when the county purchases land, then you have to tell the state what what lands you have purchased, because they may want you to put affordable housing on those lands. And I understand that this tax increase is for conservative land, to conserve lands, but people, you must understand that those things can change. So please, if you're writing something in to have this, make sure that the state can't take these lands and say, you have to put affordable housing on that. And then always remember that when you accept grants, any grant, strings are attached to it, and there's things that you have to do that maybe the citizens of Martin County didn't really want to happen. So I really thank you for your time, and I thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Tiffany Perry, did you want to wait to the item, or do you want to speak during public comment? Wait for the item, okay. Okay, I have some new cards here. I have Melissa, it's hard to make out the handwriting, Burke? Burke? Bunsey? Wait for the item. And then we have Pam Brunelli, who has public comment.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Hello, Commissioners. How are you today?
Good morning.
Everybody loving this weather?
Yes.
No? All right. My name's Pam Burnell, and I live in Rio. I have a few things I want to point on. We have lots of lands that's being built on Arch Street and 22nd Avenue. There's 3 homes up by the road, and there's one being built behind there. And that's where the peacocks used to roost back there. I don't know, when the developers are developing these lands, okay, you're allowed to put 3 houses down. How does it come from 3 houses to 4 to 5 houses? Another one, Arch Street and Dixie. Palma Homes, there's going to be building there. How many homes are going to go on that piece of land? Dixie and Sylvia, there's 6 homes there. And then we have an empty lot, an empty plaza on Dixie. What's going on with that? That's a footprint right there, and it's just sitting empty. So that means more fertilized lawns. We need more oak trees and pine trees, less palm trees. Our birds of prey cannot sit in a palm tree. Then we have Dixie and Amy. Studio One, I think there's a sign there. We have many gopher tortoise dens there. And our developments, why are they being built sidewalk to sidewalk? There's no tree buffers. Let's see. Oh, I've emailed the commissioners twice about having gopher tortoises sign on Dixie Highway. I was shot down twice. Apparently, I didn't know the gopher tortoises knew how to read speed limit signs. And then the other one was because we don't know where they're crossing. Well, we don't know where the peacocks cross, too. They cross everywhere. But we got peacock crossing signs. And I love our peacocks. Don't get me wrong. And I think the last thing I want to touch on is Bathtub Beach. Why do we keep trying to dredge for Bathtub Beach? Is that like, just let Mother Nature have that beach? We love that beach. It's one of our favorite beaches. But why do we keep dumping sand there. The next year it goes away, we dump more sand there. Just let Bathtub Beach, mother have it. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tom Haas. During public comment, Haas, Haas, Tom Haas. Gil Smart, would you like to speak during the agenda item? Okay. And Ken Parks, would you like to speak during the agenda item? Yes, please. Good morning.
Morning, Tom Haas from Jensen Beach. Couple things you're talking about a mooring field in Port Salerno. The one thing I'd like to ask, if anybody even has a figure, several years ago, we built a mooring field in Jensen Beach with a big building, similar to the one they're probably going to build in Port Salerno. Has that even come close to breaking even with the cost of the maintenance and everything else? It's another cost for the county that maybe we shouldn't be looking at a mooring field at this time. The one in Jensen Beach is being utilized. I don't know to what cost. I don't believe we're even coming close to breaking even on it. And I know that was millions of dollars. And the first time it was built, the dock was wrong. Company had to come in and redo the whole docking system. And the other thing is with Bathtub Beach. I've been up to Bathtub Beach several times walking, and has anybody noticed the pictures that have been online? There's a lot of big tree stumps that are now visible. Well, I viewed a couple of them pretty close. A lot of those trees were cut with a chainsaw. The roots are still in the sand, but the trees were cut down. Probably if they'd have been left, we might not be having that problem with the beach that we're having now. Somebody had to remove those trees a long time ago. Now we got a big washout. And it's an absolute disgrace. I've been around since '62. It's absolute disgrace of what's happened up there with Bathtub. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, if there's anybody else that would like to speak during public comment, now's your opportunity. I have used up all of our cards. I have a handful for departmental number 5, and then I have Ms. Perry and during the mooring field discussion. So with that, we're going to end public comment. And I know everybody's excited to get to departmental number 5, but we need to take a 10-minute closed captioning break for our resources. So it is 10:31. We will see you back at 10:40. You're on. Good morning. We are back. I ask everybody to please kindly take their seats. We're back from our closed captioning break. If you could please take your seat. And we are going to begin with the next agenda item. Actually, I'm going to take real briefly commissioner comments. We didn't do that on the agenda yet this morning. So I'll start with you, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick follow-up to some very early comments this morning, early in the morning anyway. For the last 4 or 5 years or so, we at the Association of Counties have been working on legislation to get passed for a term that I've used for the entire time, all things water. And I think from Mark Perry's comments, from the folks, the kids this morning that were in from
Bridges Montessori.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. The discharge conversation always leads us into a conversation that more has to be done, and the board approved authoring, a letter this morning. There's much more than a letter that needs to be done relative to all things water in Florida. And passing some legislation that would allow the creation of a strategy similar to what FDOT has with their 5-year work plan and their 20-year horizon work plan is something that water absolutely deserves, because the spikes and valleys that we go through with both our legislators and governors, there's always an uncertainty as to what happens next. And we're absolutely seeing it this year with the language, the proviso language, relative to Everglades restoration and where those dollars should go, and how the water management district should do its business. If we had a more comprehensive strategy statewide in terms of how we deal with that and how we plan for the future, it would blend over, or it would certainly override the ups and downs of the legislature and of the governor's office. So we don't believe that we are going to get that legislation passed this year, but we will go back at it next year and try to make sure that it gets done, because the uncertainties of where things go and how they go, water deserves exactly, if not more so, the sort of intensity and the funding and the committed funding, the roads and bridges and streets and all that kind of get in Florida. So anyway, we'll be working on that. There's a lot of other things that I'll comment on during the agenda items as they come forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Campy.
I'm fine, ready to move on.
Commissioner Hurd?
And I'm eager to hear from our residents. Thank you all for showing up this morning. It's very, very important to hear from you. And also, there's been an outpouring of support for the ballot initiative via emails for the last 2 weeks. So we thank all you citizen groups and citizens for making your position known. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And I'm all set. And Dawn? Sarah? Okay. All right, so we are going to move on to departmental number 5, discussion regarding half-cent sales tax for conservation lands. And that is initially going to be presented, I believe, by Sarah Woods.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. So this agenda item was brought forth at the request of the board back in September of last year. The board directed staff to work with a conservation initiative entitled Martin County Forever. What you have attached to this agenda item is draft proposed ballot language and an ordinance calling for a referendum on the question of whether to levy a half-cent local government infrastructure sales tax for a period of 10 years for the acquisition of conservation lands within Martin County. And if Donna could bring up the, back in the background, the ballot language, and I'm not going to read all of this aloud, blessedly, but I'm going to say that the title currently is Lands to Protect Water Quality, Natural Areas, and Wildlife Habitat, 0.5% sales surtax. And the ballot question, shall Martin County protect its water quality and unique character by acquiring critical lands in Martin County within the Indian River Lagoon South, Palmar,
Loxahatchee, and St. Lucie headwaters, Blueways areas, and to provide municipal infrastructure allowed by law by levying a 0.5% county sales tax for 10 years starting January 1st of 2025 with an annual audit and citizen oversight. Just briefly dropping down into the ordinance, the ordinance allows the acquisition by, this is in section 6 of the draft ordinance, it allows the acquisition by fee simple interest, which means by purchasing the property, environmentally significant land for the purposes of preserving, conserving, and restoring. And again, the same language is used regarding Indian River Lagoon South, Palmar, the Loxahatchee, and St. Lucie headwaters and Blueways areas, thereby protecting water sources, preserving natural areas and beaches, providing open space, providing wildlife habitat, and water storage recharge areas. It expressly limits the use of the sales tax proceeds to those enumerated areas within Martin County. The second part of Section 6 of the ordinance allows for the acquisition of perpetual interest in land through a conservation easement, and again, with the same requirements. And again, the conservation easements would preserve the land while allowing current lands in the most common use of using conservation easements would be on ag land. So we would acquire would keep it from becoming developed in any way, but would also allow the agricultural interest to continue on that piece of property. There's also a provision in the ordinance that requires and it shall establish by resolution an environmental land oversight committee, which I think was referred to in public comment, and their charged duty is to provide citizen oversight to coordinate any necessary studies that we need to determine what land should be acquired, and they would make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. Martin County forever had requested, and I put it in this draft, that certain enumerated organizations be represented on this oversight committee, including the Martin County Taxpayers Association, the Realtors, the Tourist Development Council, Conservation, Environmental, and Martin County Forever. One thing that I do want to mention is the language that talks about the municipal uses. Our part of the sales tax will be restricted to these conservation interests. The cities, the municipalities will be able to use their portion of the sales tax proceeds in accordance with state law, so they will not necessarily be restricted. There's a number of issues to be brought before you. And again, I want to make this clear, this is just a conversation about the ordinance. If the board decides to go forward, we'll advertise it and we'll have a full public hearing on the ordinance. This is a discussion about the draft that we've come up with the Martin County Forever folks. The duration of the tax currently, as I said before, is 10 years. The amount of the tax, ½ There's a limitation in the proposed ordinance that places a limit of 5% of the purchase price of any of the acquired land to be used for exotic removal or restoration. And I will say that the Environmental Lands Oversight Committee, the delineation of specific organizations is problematic, in my opinion, from a legal standpoint, because what we know from past conservation sales tax initiatives, it may take 20 or 30 years for us to be able to use all of those. With all respect to our organizations, sometimes organizations dissolve and reincorporate it. So my recommendation would be, instead of listing specific organizations, to try to use descriptive terms as to who should be contained on the on the advisory committee. The other option is to just mandate the formation of it and put forth the specifics in a resolution. You can amend a resolution far easier than you can amend this ordinance, just to make it clear to all the folks in the audience. If this ordinance is validated by the referendum, it can't be changed without going back to referendum. So that's why we have to be really precise about what we have in this ordinance, because there's no changing it. Unless it goes back to referendum, which I don't think anybody really would like to do. And the last thing that I want to mention is that we need to go ahead and, if the board wants to put this on the ballot, we need to move fairly quickly because the state law requires us, once an ordinance is passed, to submit it to the state of Florida, and they do a fiscal impact analysis by a CPA, and there's timelines for that. To the agenda item, I've attached all the timelines. I don't think we need to go over all of those, but your legal department will make sure that we're complying with that. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And then I believe Martin County Forever would like to make a presentation.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Ms. Woods? And I'd like to invite up the representatives from Martin County Forever for a presentation. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Merritt Matheson will address more formally the specifics of our initiative, but I'd like to first thank each of you for your time over the past year. It's been very much appreciated and very helpful. Also, to commend you for retaining and supporting your outstanding staff, especially John Mayle, Mike Yeston, Attorney Sarah Woods, and Don Donaldson. While I confess that I have most assuredly given Sarah and Don a few gray hairs that they didn't have before, but we're deeply appreciative of their patience as we've worked with them over the past year. And it's been truly an honor to work with you folks and John and Mike. So thank you. So with that introduction, and thanks to you, are very important members of the Martin County community, I'd like Merritt Matheson to step up.
Morning, Merritt.
Thank you, Jim.
Good morning.
Mr. Snedeker, I appreciate it, and I truly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate you leading this charge for Martin County Forever. Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, administrative staff, I'm Merritt Matheson, and I'm speaking on behalf of Martin County Forever. I want to thank you guys and gals for having us. And I want to thank you because over the past more than a year now, we've worked with each one of you and with your staff under your direction to come before you with this draft that we have today. That being said, Martin County Forever, as a committee, did not come up with this draft. What we did was act as a liaison between the BOCC and its staff and the community. And it's important to know, and as you'll see here today and have already seen, that this is a community-driven effort. The language before you came from meeting with various stakeholders throughout the community. We've met and received input from members of the Taxpayers Association to the Rivers Coalition, from members of the ag community to the various chambers of commerce, and many, many organizations in between. And what Martin County Forever did was take that feedback, work with your staff, and work with the commissioners to come up with a community-driven initiative that I like to call an overall quality of life initiative. This initiative goes well beyond just an environmental initiative, which you all know me, I could go on and on about the benefits environmentally for this initiative. But overall, it is a quality of life initiative. This initiative has the potential for beneficial impacts from everything from traffic, school demand, the local economy, water supply, water quality, the marine industries, and just overall quality of life for the residents we serve. The referendum and draft before you proposes a half-cent sales tax for 10 years. All of the funding that goes to Martin County generated from that sales tax is restricted to 4 key areas in Martin County. As Attorney Woods already went over the ordinance and draft, very important though, those key areas: Indian River Lagoon South, Palmar, the Loxalucy Headwaters region, and one of my favorites is the Blue Ways program. All of the funding, besides 5% for maintenance and light-duty infrastructure such as a trailhead or a parking lot or potential future boat ramp, is restricted to acquisition and preservation within those key areas. The reason for that is to build public trust behind this initiative. All of the language in this ordinance, again, has come from working with the community. Because this is only phase 1. I stand here before you asking you to put this on the ballot so we can move on to phase 2. I and the Martin County Forever team pledge to continue this charge into phase 2 of educating the rest of the community, gathering their support, so that this not only passes today with a 4-0 vote to put it on the ballot, but it passes overwhelmingly on November 5th at the ballot box. I'd be happy to entertain any questions from the commissioners at this point, and if you'd like, I can go into further detail. But we've worked with each and every one of you during this process. I or members of my team have. And we welcome your feedback and your support that you've given throughout this initiative that's well over a year and underway now, and we intend to continue the charge. We'll open up for any questions.
Anybody have any questions at this point?
We'll hear from the public.
Okay, we're gonna take public comment, and then we reserve the, in case commissioners have questions after public comment.
And Madam Chair, if the topic does come up, and we've foreseen it in speaking with Attorney Woods, we have some proposed alternative language that describes the board seats of the advisory board. And I'd be happy to give that to Attorney Woods, and if she so chooses, to read it into the record.
Okay, great. After commissioner comment, I'll go back for any questions. Okay, we have a stack of comments on here. If you would like to speak, please fill out a form. Same rules apply as public comment this morning. My first commenter is Paul Owens, and Paul will be followed by Jim Moyer.
They brought out the heavy hitters.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Owens, President of 1,000 Friends of Florida, and I'm here this morning to declare our strong support for putting the Martin County Forever Conservation Initiative on the ballot this fall. As a statewide organization, we've worked together with partners in counties across Florida to launch and maintain local conservation programs. We endorsed 5 conservation programs in the 2022 cycle and 3 in the 2020 cycle. Together, we batted 1,000 on those proposals. Every single one of them was approved by voters in their counties, whether red or blue. So what explains this clean sweep for conservation? Most Floridians, regardless of party registration, recognize that protecting the environment is essential to maintaining a healthy economy and a high quality of life. Under the Martin County Forever proposal, the investment in land conservation from taxpayers would be modest, but the returns would be considerable for water, wildlife, working farms, tourism, and property values. And funding through a sales tax means that visitors, like me, would cover more than a third of the program's costs. Martin County Forever includes the same kind of accountability features that have given voters in other counties the confidence to approve local conservation programs, including a short, worthy list of eligible properties, a citizen oversight committee, and an annual audit. Funds raised at the county level could leverage at least as much, if not more, in private, federal, and state funds. This would be a buy one, get one free deal for county taxpayers. Certainly, I don't need to convince anyone in this room that development pressure is building in Martin County. While we strongly believe in good planning to steer development away from natural and agricultural areas, we also see land conservation as another critical strategy to protect this county's environment, quality of life, and future. Today, we're not seeking a commitment from any of you to declare your support for Martin County Forever. At this stage, regardless of your personal inclination on the proposal, we want you to give your constituents the opportunity to make the call. Leaders in other counties have done so. Those counties, I'll conclude, those counties are now at the head of the line for matching funding from other sources. If Martin County doesn't follow suit, it'll be at the back of the line. Commissioners, a vote from you to place this issue on the ballot is a vote of confidence in your constituents. Please trust them to make the right call.
Thank you. All right. Our next speaker is Jim Moyer, and Jim will be followed by Finley Dorr.
Morning, Jim.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you very much for this meeting today, and thank you for, I hope, putting this on the ballot next year or this November. My name is Jim Moyer. I'm a resident of Martin County. I'm also the Indian River Keeper, and I sit on several environmental boards. I highly endorse this. This is an incredibly wise and smart move for Martin County to make. The leverage that it provides is incredible, but also the natural services that these lands provide us are invaluable. They are the treasure of the Treasure Coast. It is what makes this place unique. It's what makes the Martin County difference so different and so wonderful to live within. We've done this before. We've got beaches that wouldn't be beaches if it wasn't for Martin County residents taxing themselves to buy those properties. We've got properties that aren't being developed, that aren't, recreational amenities for people. They are natural habitat for wildlife because Martin County has set them aside as conservation areas. We have serious pressures pushing on those developers to make those properties no longer available. We need to act soon, and we need to act with smart clarity to do the right thing. We have to move forward to protect what is most valuable to us, and that is the natural systems that make Florida a wonderful place to live. We have incredible pressures from both legislative and natural that are going to make these choices much more critical in the very near future. And if we don't act now to do this, we won't have another chance at it. I urge you to please put this on the ballot. Let the citizens do the right thing, because I know they will. And they will vote this to be the very best chance that these conservation lands have to be preserved forever. Thank you very much for making Martin County an important place to live forever. Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker is Finley Dorr. Finley will be followed by Casey Darling Niffen.
Good morning, Finley.
My name is Finley Doré. I'm 12 years old, and I'm part of River Kids. I'm here because I care about the future of Martin County. We have a chance to preserve something really important, the beautiful land that is an extension of our own backyards, full of cool bugs, animals, and plants. By preserving these lands, we can ensure clean water, protect natural habitats, and create more opportunities for outdoor adventure and play. By protecting our land, we can also raise our property values and might invite more visitors to explore and protect the jobs of those who depend on our diverse ecosystem. I hope you'll vote to let everyone decide in November. It's important to protect our home and all the amazing things in it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have Casey Darling Niffen, and Casey will be followed by Carol Ann Leonard.
How do I follow that up?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. My name is Casey Darling Niffen, and I'm the Conservation Policy Director at Florida Wildlife Federation. I am also the co-lead of the River Kids with Kelly Dore, who raised such a wonderful young person to come and speak to you. And I'm a Martin County voter, and I am a parent. And I want to, again, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about the proposed ballot referendum for conservation lands. The Florida Wildlife Federation's mission is to conserve Florida's wildlife, habitats, and natural resources through education, advocacy, and science-based stewardship. My background is science, so I am proud to be with this organization. Each year, your legislative priorities ask the state to provide funding to buy these lands, to acquire these environmentally sensitive lands. I love to see it every year, and so I know this board supports acquiring conservation lands. This initiative would help fund that. It would help bring that to a reality for Martin County. I also know that this board values our estuaries and water quality to support habitats for our aquatic species, and I thank you for all that you've said and committed to even just today, and to make that known to your constituents. Conservation lands are a vital component to the recovery of the Indian River Lagoon and the St. Lucie Estuary. I also know that this board values community and our voices. And again, as a voter and as a parent in Martin County, I want the opportunity to vote for conservation lands for my future and my children's future. I have a quick story. I went on a hike in Palm Beach Gardens with my parents who have lived there for over 40 years. This was a couple years ago with me and my kids, my parents. And they said, "Why didn't we bring you here when you guys were kids?" And I responded that, well, you didn't really need to, because we had pine flatwoods at the end of our street, and we would just make our own trails, and we would go exploring and adventuring. And I looked up how that little chunk of land, 150 acres in the middle of Palm Beach Gardens, was saved from the development that is all around it. And it was through a citizen-led ballot referendum, coupled with state funding to save that land and protect it in perpetuity. And that's the opportunity that I want. I want in 30 years when I go on a hike with my kids for them to know that they were a part of this process. I want to recognize all of the young people, the future of Martin County, the people that we are going to be saving these lands. Martin County forever is for them. So I just want to recognize them. If they could stand or raise their hands. Thank you again for listening to your constituents and allowing us to decide. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Carol Ann Leonard, and then we'll have Mark Perry follow Carol Ann.
I support the 10-year half-cent sales tax to be placed on the ballot. I can relate to the hardship of daily living expenses. However, the sales taxes are not collected on prescriptions and food that is not already prepared, such as from the deli, to name two. The snowbirds and other tourists will contribute to this sales tax. It's a fair tax. It is necessary to buy and conserve our Martin County land. Please keep the wording intact as best as can be in its entirety and keep the funds properly in place. I like having a citizen oversight committee to be formed, and I agree with all the other comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mark Perry, and Mark will be followed by Melissa Bunsey.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is truly a good opportunity for the county, but it's not the first time. I mean, these these lands that you know are sensitive lands, environmentally sensitive, but they're also set aside for conservation, and that's what it's all about. And you know, the Blue Ways, IRL South, the Indian River Lagoon Watershed, Loxalucy, and Palomar are all in that category, which we actually initially started back in 2006. If you recall, we did a sales tax back then for a land buy initiative of $27 million was raised. And I remember taking the check with then Commissioner DiTerlizzi to the state, and they matched it up with $30 million. So it was a good buy at that time and a good initiative then. And even prior to that, I remember Healthy Rivers Initiative with Elmira Gainey prior to that too. So this is not new to the county to take on an initiative to buy these really valuable lands for the county to for our watershed and to protect our watershed from destruction. I want to hand out a letter to you that we did as Florida Oceanographic back in. This was when the initiative first was presented to us back in December of 2022. December 22 is when we first learned about it, and we, as an organization, felt behind it to put out a letter of support again for this initiative. So I ask you to follow the guidelines as you've committed to. Listen to your constituents. Obviously, all of the constituents are here to, I think, help support this initiative and get it on the ballot so that the voters can decide in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, we have Melissa Bunsey, still in the room? Burke, sorry. And followed by Gil Smart. It was either an N or an R and a K.
All right, good morning. Thank you for your time. As a parent, citizen, and business owner in the community, I support moving the referendum forward and allowing your voters to make the decision. I've read the language, listened to a few presentations by Merritt, and we are 100% behind him in moving this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have Gil Smart, and Gil will be followed by Ken Parks.
Smart looks like Peter Walden. Morning, Commissioners. My name's Gil Smart. I'm here on behalf of Vote Water, where I'm Executive Director. We work for clean water and political accountability for clean water. We fully support placing this referendum on the ballot and letting Martin County voters decide if they want to save these sensitive lands. You all have often heard the term the Martin County difference, which is to say there's a reason a lot of people live here as opposed to Boca, Fort Lauderdale, Naples, or wherever it is. You also hear from your constituents when they perceive that Martin County difference is being eroded. I have little doubt that the people of this community will vote yes on this if given the chance. Given development pressures, it almost seems that sometimes that if it was permitted, every square inch of this county would be developed. That's an overstatement, obviously, but not by much, okay? To preserve these lands is to preserve wildlife habitat. To preserve these lands is to preserve water quality and water quantity. To preserve these lands is to preserve the Martin County difference. I believe people want that difference to be preserved. I believe they should have the chance to vote on that. If you place this referendum on the ballot, they will. So please support this. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Ken Parks. Ken will be followed by Eve Samples. And if you'd like to speak and you haven't already filled out one, go ahead and do so because I'm getting down to the very end.
Good morning. I'm Ken Parks with Marine Resources Council, and we're here today to lend our support to presenting the Martin County Forever referendum initiative to the voters of Martin County. Marine Resources Council is a group of people. We're headquartered in Palm Bay, but we work all across East Central Florida to protect, restore, unite, and promote the Indian River Lagoon coastal community of East Central Florida. Marine Resources Council is a charitable nonprofit organization. It has about 550 annual members today, 12,500 supporters, hundreds of volunteers, and many strategic partners with diverse interests all across East Central Florida. Martin County Forever offers your citizens the opportunity to grow your legacy of investing in protecting the very essence of what makes Florida special, its natural beauty and its natural resiliency. Martin County can protect your Indian River Lagoon watershed but it can protect something even more important, the future of East Central Florida. In Brevard County, the Environmental Endangered Lands Program, for example, was just renewed with a landslide of voter support. And all around the lagoon, investments are being made in protecting endangered lands, converting septic to sewer, replacing antiquated wastewater and stormwater infrastructure, implementing resiliency strategies such as low-impact development, reducing lawn fertilizers and pesticide and herbicide use, and more. The Indian River Lagoon Coastal Community supports the most biodiverse habitat in North America, and it will continue to do so with bold and sensible investments such as the half-cent public investment proposed by Martin County Forever, an investment that can go a long way in protecting the Indian River Lagoon and its coastal community today and forever. Thank you.
Next speaker is Eve Samples. Eve will be followed by Greg Braun.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Eve Samples, Executive Director at Friends of the Everglades. We were founded by Marjorie Stoneman Douglas in 1969, relocated to Martin County in 2019 because of the environmentally sensitive legacy of this community. So you all in your capacities as commissioners face a lot of really difficult decisions. This is not one of them. Everyone who has spoken on this proposed amendment has encouraged you to pass it. You've received much communication in support of it. This is an easy yes. Yes to letting voters decide if they want to reach into their own pockets to conserve some of the last remaining green spaces in Martin County. And many of those green spaces are under assault. Let's not fool ourselves. The development pressure in this community is intense. So this is a yes to letting voters decide. Voters here have said yes to similar conservation amendments in the past, multiple times. As a result, Martin County has gotten a jump start on Everglades restoration, Allapattah Flats, the C-44 lands. There's a reason we're ahead of the game in terms of Everglades restoration. Some people, when they hear about Everglades restoration, think about a national park down at the southern end of the peninsula. No, actually, we are all sitting in the greater Everglades today. If you walk outside and you see an ibis in the parking lot, that's part of the greater Everglades, and it is dwindling. We've already lost more than half of it. Please let voters decide if they're willing to pay to protect what remains. I just want to mention, too, that I am also a mom and a Martin County resident. I live here in Stewart, and the comments about protecting these lands for our next generation really resonates with me and many others. So please put Martin County Forever on the ballot. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Greg Braun, and then the final speaker form I have is for Michael Circus.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you, and it's good to hear so many people supporting something. No differences of opinion on this one today. I'm Greg Braun, Executive Director of the Guardians of Martin County. I've been a property owner here in Martin County for over 35 years, and I'd like to just have you think for a couple minutes. Think about the beach access strips on Hutchinson Island. Think about Hal Patioki Regional Park. Think about the Kiplinger Preserve. Think about Jimmy Graham Park in Gomez down in Hope Sound. And out west, think about Timer Powers Park in the C-44 Reservoir. Yeah, these are all over the county, but the common thread to all of them is we were able to acquire them because of locally approved voter referenda. It was back in the 1970s this went back to, from the Save Our Rivers initiative. Lands for You in the 1980s and 90s, Lands for Healthy Rivers. The county staff has shown a proficiency for being able to use our taxpayer-generated monies very well in the very competitive Florida Forever program. We all know that there are properties that we want to acquire in Martin County that have been on that list for decades, and this will allow us to move forward with those. So I will close by echoing what the others have said. The Guardians very definitely are asking that you indeed let the voters decide in November. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Michael Circus.
Good morning. Once again, Mike Circus, Palm City. I have an internal struggle over this item because I do believe that Martin County Forever is on the track to doing something very good. We need to preserve lands before they're gone. At the same time, I also recognize that forced philanthropy, in my mind, is morally wrong. Even if 80% of the community says they want to support this, that's 20% of our taxpayers that will be forced into doing something they may not be able to fiscally afford. And I did the numbers on this. It came out about $100 or so per resident per year that'll end up in increased taxation. $100 isn't a whole lot of money. So if somebody feels like they have the cash to donate, then I would highly encourage them to do so. But if they don't feel like they have the cash to do this, then obviously, or I would assume they'd recognize if they can't afford to do it, then forcing somebody else to do so would be wrong. As I sit here today, I kind of think there might even be a solution to this. Not that many years ago, several half-cent sales tax increases failed in referendum. And after that, County Commission decided to put a 6% sales tax onto our unincorporated FPL bills. So I'd like to hear a discussion. If we're going to go forward with a half-cent sales tax increase, can there be a correlating decrease in the franchise fee? As one came after the other because of failed referendum, when we tried to make some extra money to get these infrastructure projects in place, that was something that was done 100% in-house without the taxpayers having an opportunity to say whether they want 6% on their FPL bill. So if we're going to have a sales tax, can we reduce the FPL franchise fee? Thank you.
Thank you. Now, that is my final public comment for this item, departmental number 5, and I will bring it back to the board. I have a light on for Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm going to, hopefully I won't go all over the place, but I'm going to go back a little bit in history. A lot of speakers have spoke this morning relative to the historical acquisitions that we have done here in the county. I have been very proud to be part in a significant way of 2 of those. And 2 of those that led to the acquisition of Allapattah, led to the acquisition of C-44, some of the parks that were just mentioned. I remember a phone call I got from a resident after I was first elected relative to what was important to her acquisition list. Good friend, known her for years. And she said, Doug, I don't care what you do and how you do it, but buy every single piece of Hutchinson Island there is left to buy. That led to about 120 acres of acquisition out on Hutchinson Island. It was fantastic. One of the speakers spoke this morning and said our public beach access, it is special here. I was with some commissioners from St. Augustine, or in St. Augustine a couple of weeks ago, talking about Ponte Vedra Beach. There's one public beach access on Ponte Vedra Beach at the very southern end of the island. We have something like 27 access points, I think, here, something like that, and they're all free. During the pandemic, it was abundantly clear that they were free and that everybody else in the rest of the state wanted to come here and use our beach. And if there was one coolest thing this board ever did in all the years I've been doing this, it was shut it down just to Martin County residents. That was the most fun thing to watch. Of course, all the staff that had to deal with it, they hated us forever because it was really ugly out there. But it is special. The C-44 acquisition, I can't tell you how many times Sarah and I and others have been in D.C. talking to anybody that would listen to us about getting C-44 done out towards Indiantown. And almost every single time we led with the opening statement, our Martin County taxpayers put their mouths and their money first. That's why C-44 is built first, because we stepped up, you stepped up, and did it. You know, an interesting thing about the conversation and what it will turn into over the next 6 months politically, if this board approves it today to move it forward, it will turn into mail pieces that will say something like, this person supports a tax increase. It won't explain why. It won't justify why. It'll just say, this person supports tax increase. It doesn't matter. The job we have up here is to do what we think is the right thing to do for Martin County. Over the last 24 years, I have done what I thought was the right thing to do on these issues. And when we passed them, it led to some pretty incredible legacy acquisitions. If the beach wasn't probably the most important to me personally, the beach acquisitions, C-44 and Allapattah, came right in after that. And about that time, we also used a fair amount of money when we hired Dan Dehan. We probably shouldn't name people by name, but I will, to go out and acquire Palomar lots. And we spent a couple of years going and acquiring every single Palomar lot we could go and acquire. And just about a month ago, we had an item up to buy another 250 acres out there. An interesting debate that's going on in Tallahassee right now. Term limits. Should or should we not have term limits? I think what's amazing about everything that was said here this morning, the most common thread of everything said here this morning was let the voters decide. I didn't hear anybody say anything differently other than give us the chance to put it on a referendum in November and let the voters decide. Tallahassee should not decide for you in Martin County what happens. That's my opinion. Maybe it's shared by some, maybe it's not. But there will be a debate or discussion on term limits. We heard our update this morning from Sarah Powers that they have now gone from 12 years down to 8 years. Fair enough. That's their choice to do that. But it's interesting that as important it is to our community to give you all a chance and to have this board of 4 today give you that chance, it's the same thing. We'll see where that all ends up. Politically, I will take the hit wherever I need to take the hit. I've taken them before, and I will continue to take them in the future. I think one of the important things all of us have to think about when the community comes forward like this, in unison, and this isn't the entire community, I understand that, but there are people in the room that have spoken that represent large groups of folks. We had this with an issue with Commissioner Campy out in Palm City. I've been grilled multiple times over why did I vote and support Ed to acquire that land out in Palm City. Because the room was filled with folks like you from Palm City that said that's what they wanted to do. It didn't matter what I thought about it. It didn't matter what I thought Ed's strategy was. It really didn't matter. What mattered is we responded in large part to a very large response from people who lived there and didn't want it. I'll wrap up, and then hopefully we'll hear from others. Somebody I would really like to single out in this effort is Jim Snedeker. Jim started off the conversation. You know, in the referendums I've worked on, they're not easy. You get a lot of people pushing back on stuff, especially when it comes to a tax. But you got to have courage, and you got to stand up, and you got to believe or stand up for what you think is right. Jim and I have known each other now maybe for 7, 8 years. I don't know, maybe longer, Jim, something like that. Jim has always been very upstanding, very forthright. He and I have debated this thing 100 times. There are 2 or 3 things I would love to see part of this referendum that are not. And I think it's, unfortunately, maybe for all of us, a missed opportunity to do some really incredible things. I mean, one of the things that was brought up by, I believe it was the gentleman from Brevard about the septic to sewer conversion stuff up there going on. We are struggling getting enough money for septic to sewer. As important as it is acquiring every piece of land in Martin County you could acquire, so is it cleaning up all of our discharges at every different level, whether it's C-44, our septic tanks, our basin runoff, you name it. When I said this morning, all things water, that's what I meant by that. It's everything that affects water. And if we don't get it right in Florida, we are going to screw up the goose that laid the golden egg. No matter how many millions of people want to move here, there's still the opportunity. We talk about this at the Regional Planning Council all the time. Doug Bernique, really good friend of mine on our council with us, talks about 60 or 70 years of being a Floridian and watching things change, and the urgency that is in front of us, wherever county or whatever county we are in, to go out and acquire as much as possible, as quickly as possible, because the pressure is real. It's incredibly difficult. So I am going to vote today to support putting it on the referendum. I have gone back and forth on this one for a couple of reasons. One, there are things, like I said, there are some things I would love to see in this that are not. But at the end of the day, there has been a consensus that has come around the language that we have in front of us today with some minor changes, whether it's the makeup of the oversight board or not. I'm not even really a big fan of the oversight board. But in listening to experts and talk about other referendums in the state of Florida that have done it, it helps. Fair enough. If that's what it takes, fair enough. I will catch, I'm sure, a lot of political grief for doing this. It's an election year, not hiding it, and it'll be a great target. But you know what? If that's what gets me thrown out of office, and I stood up for you all today, in my vote anyway, out of the four of us, to make it happen, I can go out with a clear conscience. And so it's a big deal, and it's a big deal for all of us to make that decision, but it's worth it. And if I, again, if that's my swan song out, fair enough, let it be. Anyway, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate that. The interesting part of having 5 people here is that you're going to get 5 unique opinions. Sometimes we agree in varying percentages and not. I feel bad that Commissioner Jenkins is not here today because obviously as a lifelong resident, I'm sure he has a passion for these issues. I think Mr. Donaldson has a couple of comments from Commissioner Jenkins. But that being said, I want to be very brief. I want to first congratulate and thank the Martin Forever group. The individuals that came together, some of them, their names are well known, others not as much, but the 3 that I dealt with most of all, that really did a majority of the heavy lifting for researching and educating our citizens, and also, as you've heard even from some of Commissioner Smith's comments, masterfully negotiated through different opinions and different people that were looking for things. And then Merritt Matheson, who obviously everyone knows was a City of Stewart commissioner, and even as he was no longer in office, he did not go somewhere and, just feel upset and angry with how things, he doubled down. He put his time and his energy and his education to the benefit of all. I know he has a young family. I've seen him at 100 events all the time. So all for free, all for the betterment of our community, his children. And so I really wanted to thank Merritt Matheson. Thank you, sir. Jim and I didn't know each other in the beginning, but what a consummate gentleman and professional. And, the only thing I would say to knock him is he's so humble and modest, to the point where it shouldn't be that much, because you did a remarkable job with this, taking people that were really in the beginning. The last time this conversation had come up, now the economic ebb and flow of our community has changed sometimes in my mind when these things are appropriate or not. And when I say the heavy lifting, no one wants to be additionally taxed. They just don't. And for as important as these initiatives and endeavors are, for especially all of you that took time out this morning or wrote us or called us or listened to the presentations, there's plenty of people that could care less about this. And these 2 gentlemen and my friend Stacy Ranieri, through her Firefly group, but I know Stacy personally was working hard to push on this, and she's a behind-the-scenes type of person. But Merritt and Jim, I watched it, need sometimes that guidance and pushing, and this is too much, this is not enough. And so Stacy again has done a very good job. It's made our lives so much easier. Eve Samples sort of read my mind when she said, this is an easy vote. I was sitting up here thinking, and every day when I would get dozens of emails, one after the other, come onto my phone, we support this, we support this, we support this. I appreciate the Taxpayers Association and the other groups that said, wait a second, we're normally not interested in additional taxes, but to me, the easy decision is let the voters decide in this particular case. And, when Paul from Thousand Friends of Florida says they're batting 1,000, I certainly don't want to be part of disrupting that percentage. But it just goes to show you that everywhere else in the state of Florida, these are important issues, not just here. And when he said, if we don't do the right thing in this particular situation and the voters don't find their way to this decision, we would sort of be pushed to the back of the line. And that's just a Tallahassee fact. You know, if you don't show the folks that have the checkbook that your local residents are willing to tax themselves and participate, then it's very disingenuous to show up in Tallahassee with your hand out. The first question they ask is, well, what did you give? And so I think that that will be important. And for us, especially in Martin County, we don't follow. When it comes to environmental issues and protection and sensitive lands, we lead. We lead. And so we certainly can't fall behind with the 24 other communities that have done this already. And now for the fiscal wonks of this and the fiscal conservative, which I would consider myself one of those people as well. I think personally in my decision-making process, which won't have to happen today in terms of how would I vote, even though the things that benefit my decision-making process are the 4 things we discussed. It's 4 very specific, environmentally sensitive and beneficial land areas. It is also the ability to use conservation easements, which is an important tool when purchasing can't not happen, especially as you head out into agricultural areas. And I think by negotiating that into this deal, into this proposal, you brought on a lot of folks that might have steered clear of supporting this. You brought them into this side of the ledger. The third is the annual audit. When you're doing the right thing and you are following all the rules and making smart financial decisions, an audit or a check should not be a problem at all, and for me, it certainly is not. And finally and fourth, most importantly, I welcome a citizens oversight committee. It's not so much as to me that it's like an oversight as it is input. This is an important decision that requires decisions to be made by every resident. Some will be completely in support of this decision and others won't. So it's important that it's not the 5 of us in this particular case, that an oversight panel to review, to create those studies, to review the purchases, again, makes the decision from my perspective that much easier. It's an important decision that affects everyone in the community, especially our children and grandchildren into the future. And to have a unified voice of people to participate. I remember the Land Selection Committee that was here when I just came into office for the first time with the 2006 referendum dollars. They came forward with a lot of interesting suggestions that maybe I or others wouldn't have thought of. So to our staff who's worked behind the scenes for this, to the Martin County Forever group, and for all of you, it's my pleasure to make the motion today to let the voters decide.
Commissioner Hearn.
Yeah, well, we need to buy land. We need to buy land to provide biodiversity and food production and habitat restoration, stormwater management, carbon sequestration, and clean water. Land is shockingly expensive. We can't afford to do it on our own. And fortunately, part of the Indian River Lagoon South now includes natural lands, which means that we have state and federal partners, which means that we can leverage the investments that we make with state and federal monies in order to acquire more land. And that's really important. As we've traveled to Tallahassee and to Washington, as I have over the last 22 years, it's been extremely compelling to our lawmakers that we reach into our own pockets first before we pick theirs. It makes a difference. It's made a difference. That's why IRL South is so much more advanced than many of the SERP components. I attended the Everglades Conference last month, and there were a number of panels. One stuck out in my memory as an illustration of why it's so necessary to buy land, and that is Hurricane Ian dropped 10 to 20 inches of rain in Osceola County, threatening to flood 12,000 homes. South Florida Water Management took control of the stormwater structures and turned the direction of the flow around, and instead flooded a rancher's ranch with 2 feet of water for 2 months. And instead of 12,000 homes being flooded, 1,200 homes were being flooded. Ironically, that rancher's ranch has an approved development order on it. But he's a willing seller. These are the kinds of lands that we need to acquire in order to make sure that we protect our habitat, that we restore our habitat, and that we clean up our water. So I will second your motion.
Commissioner Smith.
It's always a risk whether you go first or you go last, so you can listen to everybody and hear what everybody else said that you didn't say. The one thing I would encourage all of you that do support this and are going to work towards its passage, don't let outsiders from Martin County distract your vote. There will be a lot of attention paid on this referendum, and really stick to Martin County and worry about Martin County and not about people outside of the state, nationally or whatever, because it's the impact is us. We will be the ones paying it, but the impact and the success of the acquisitions will also impact us for many generations to come. So don't let it dissuade you. Don't let it get you down. Jim and his team certainly haven't let it get him down. He's still here and he's still smiling. And that's a good thing. And again, Jim and Merritt and the rest of the team, thank you.
Thank you.
And Don.
So I can only relay Commissioner Jenkins. I did have the opportunity to speak to him last night briefly, and he certainly regrets being here. This was an important subject for him, and he did. It was important that he saw this as a grassroots organization, and he saw that the Jim and Martin County Forever has done an excellent job, and he just wanted to pass on that he does support putting this on the ballot. And he looks forward to hopefully it coming back as an ordinance and being able to vote at that time.
And the chair goes last, so I will. Can you do? I'm gonna. Okay. Oh, is that a new light?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
It's just regarding the Oversight Committee, and I would make a recommendation that we not name the members of the Oversight Committee. It's a bad precedent. It took us until last month to spend 2006 proceeds. So I would suggest instead that C, just say, the county shall establish by resolution an environmental lands oversight committee, which shall provide citizen oversight and conduct and coordinate any necessary studies to determine appropriate lands to acquire from the funding provided by the surtax. The ELOC shall make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. Stop.
How many are they asking for? I don't remember.
It doesn't say.
Motion maker agree with that?
Question to that, what's the recommendation? I didn't see it in my notes on how many would be on that panel.
They had asked 1, 2, 3, 4, for 6 categories. Some were general, some were not. I will tell you that Martin County Forever provided me, Merritt provided me with some descriptives of some representations of organizations without naming specifics. But again, the committee would be established by resolution of the Board of County Commissioners. And if we do it that way, as Commissioner Hurd suggests, or with general, you can be as specific as you want in the resolution, and that can be changed easily as long as it complies with the ordinance. So it's up to the pleasure of the board.
Commissioners, thank you all for the kind comments. And, a lot of what we have done is threading the needle, Martin County Forever. I can tell you that the community absolutely demands an oversight committee. And those that are knowledgeable about this process prefer the protection of the ordinance as opposed to adjustments in a resolution. I fully understand, as you all know, the limitations of putting language in the ordinance. That's why at the last minute, we kind of came up with generic definitions, and I apologize for it being at the last minute, that describe these positions without naming them. It does leave the flexibility, and Attorney Woods has had a chance to read them. But again, it's threading the needle for giving confidence to the public. And I've had this conversation many, many times over the past year, that if they approve the referendum and ordinance, it is done. The county commission's not coming to change it. It's not, there's no behind-the-scenes actions. But they really want to see these safeguards and protections in the ordinance. And so I'm trying to work, Martin County Forever is trying to work and thread that needle with definitions, because the structure of the advisory board is designed to be a wide representation of the community. And from now till November, I'm honored to have the job to go out and spread this message and lead the charge, because this is only phase one. But we need as much of these safeguards, including me, to be able to go in front of people and say, yes, there's going to be someone on this board that represents the best interest of ecotourism, because that is how this brings, a financial benefit. Preserving this land goes beyond the environment. Yes, there's going to be someone that represents the best interest of taxpayers. Yes, there's going to be someone that represents the best interest of realtors. And that's why we propose defining these without defining them. Without being specific on any individual board, but describing as it would, and perhaps Attorney Woods could read some of the definitions into the record.
I'm happy to read them. I just want you to know I just was given these, so I haven't had an opportunity to analyze them legally, but I am confident if the board would like to have descriptors in there, we could work something out that's generic enough that it wouldn't trigger an ordinance issue 20 years from now. Included in the proposed language is a nonprofit organization with a mission to acquire and preserve important natural lands in Martin County for the benefit of present and future generations through a voter-approved sales tax referendum. A nonprofit conservation organization dedicated to preserving and restoring natural areas and open space. An entity devoted to improving efforts to attract tourism to Martin County. I'm not going to read all of them. The last one is a nonprofit organization with a mission to attract, grow, and retain business in Martin County. So I'm whatever the board would like to direct me to do, I'm happy to do what you direct.
But that would come back in a separate resolution, Sarah, so we wouldn't have to decide the descriptors today.
No, ma'am, so what I will, the board agenda item, and I think that what the motion was based on was to direct me to advertise the ordinance and bring it back for a public hearing to decide whether to implement it. So you'd be approving that language. I can amend the current draft that sits before you right now to try to craft language. I think what Merritt's saying is he would like some descriptors for what the Citizens Oversight Committee would be. Commissioner Hurd's motion was to require the committee. And again, it's really the will of the board. There's not what you would like to do. While I'm speaking, and then I won't need to speak again, there is a Scrivener's error in the draft ordinance. The tax is for 10 years. I have 2025 to 2035, and it should be 2034, because that would be 11 years. So I will correct that number. It's just a Scrivener's error in the one, if the board votes to bring this to public hearing. But again, you can discuss you will have another opportunity to look at the language again.
Vice Chair, on behalf of Martin County Forever, would prefer working with your staff to craft their opinion of the descriptors to be placed in the ordinance, knowing that we look forward to leading the charge and educating the rest of the community about this and about the specific details of the ordinance.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, I just, and I hesitate even in all the positiveness that have come out of this entire conversation, and having been part of, and a significant part of the last two referendums, and also sitting on this board and voting for what the referendum's intent was. I have talked to both of our county attorneys, both Sarah Woods and Steve Fry, for a very, very long time. Did we follow the law? Did we do what we were supposed to do? And did we buy or build or whatever was in the language to the law, regardless of what anybody says? And this veiled, kind of lack of confidence conversation is unfortunate, because it's been a perpetuated conversation to either kill or support other referendums, as if the county didn't do by law exactly what we're doing today with the language and will come back to us. And so, I'm very hesitant on this. I'm discouraged that it's coming up like this, that we're pushing on this that hard, because I have the confidence in this board, in our staff, that we follow the law and we do what our county attorney says. And to say anything else otherwise is false. And it discourages me, because so many people in the room talked about the amazing things we did with the sales tax referendum and what we acquired. Yes, we did. And to the law, to what we passed, what we told the voters we were going to do. And now the conversation shifting as if, well, you really didn't, and that's why we need this, and that's why we need the descriptors, and this is why, because there's no trust. The reason there's no trust, Merritt, is because people keep saying it. Regardless of how many times we've had it as a discussion on this board, we at public record, we have a printout of everything we acquired and everything we spent money on. And I caution everybody, if you want this to pass, we don't get so hung up on some of this detail, because people will use it. As you have stated in the conversation, people don't trust. Well, if they don't trust, they're not going to vote for it. And so I'm supportive of Sarah's motion. If it gets changed, I'll consider it, but I think our attorney has given us good advice, and I think you've gotten 99% of what you've asked for, and then some, which is great. I just hope it doesn't falter at the last minute for a detail that is.
Commissioner, I agree with you 100%. I can't count the number of conversations I have trying to stress that the other initiatives that have been done were done in full accordance with the law and the language they've had. And in those conversations, I think one-on-one, I've swayed individuals. But whether it's at a national level all the way down to a local level, there is this lack of trust. And I am trying to,
what's interesting on that
to
comment,
stop that.
What's interesting on that comment, at the national level, in every process I'm part of and been part of, the highest level of trust is at the local level.
Mm-hmm.
The worst is at the federal level. The second worst is at the state level. So if there's a trust issue at the local level, it's as strong as it gets. It may not be strong enough, but it's as strong as it gets.
Well, the final thing I'll say, and I'll let Mr. Snedeker say, is Martin County Forever looks at its job in this initiative as trying to build and strengthen that trust and moving this language with the ultimate goal over the finish line. And to do that throughout the community till November 5th, our goal is to build trust in this board, because this board had the trust in Martin County Forever for allowing us to work directly with your staff to get where we are today. So we will be working on continuing that trust, whether it's individual conversation to individual conversation or presenting in front of a large group of people. So, thank you.
I would merely say we have utmost confidence in you, the commissioners, and Attorney Woods, County Administrator Donaldson coming up with the right solution to this. So we defer to you folks, bearing in mind that we do have a sales job to do between now and November. So whatever ammunition you can give us as it relates to that will be most helpful and greatly appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Campy.
Thank you. I see it a little bit differently. In the past, some of the referendums were wide open. One of the nicest concepts that I had mentioned originally is this is specific to 4 key geographic areas and sensitive projects. For me personally, I have no problem with the oversight. I think it takes some of the pressure off of the commissioners. I think what I heard Commissioner Smith said, I don't disagree, but I also live and read and watch things that are happening in the news media at all 3 levels, local, state, and federal. If it gives our residents more comfort that there would be a citizens oversight committee, I welcome it. I personally don't do anything that I feel is unscrupulous or immoral, or illegal, God forbid. But if people feel that way about me or us or elected officials in general, I welcome the panel. I welcome the audits. My suggestion is twofold. One, we're just deciding today, as we've heard many times, just whether or not we're going to even put it on the ballot. I hope that we can easily get past that decision today. The next one would be come back where we get a little more into the details. My recommendation would be, and as the motion maker, I would add it to my motion, that the Martin County Forever group work as they have been with our staff to finalize what those members should be. I agree with Attorney Woods that if you specifically name a group that 4 years from now no longer exists, what do you do? My second suggestion would be that there be representation, it would be a 9-panel board. 5 members would represent 1 person geographically from each district. Could be appointed by the commissioner. If the staff puts that together, it could be, so 5 of the positions would be 1 geographic from all the areas. That works in almost every panel we put together. Someone comes from each of the areas. Since it's very important as an environmental aspect, the next 2 positions would be non-for-profit environmental groups. Maybe it's a larger group that has a footprint larger than Martin County. Maybe it's a specific to Martin County group. But I don't want to say it should be the River Keeper and it shouldn't be, Guardians. 2 not-for-profit. There'll always be some. This is still Martin County. It's, if some of them fade in, others will fade, if some fade out, some will fade in. 1 person from the Tourist Development Board or tourist industry, I heard that mentioned. I think that lends a little kind of a different focus on what things those purchases could be made and then enhanced in such a way that would also continue to develop tourism. And finally, someone from the financial sector. Now, we talked and heard this morning that the Taxpayers Association potentially had a seat at the table. I think they're a 62-year-old organization. There's a real possibility that they have enough longevity and momentum to keep going. However, if not, something in the financial sector, a not-for-profit organization, if it has to be, again, a Martin County home-based one would be best. If it's something for the Treasure Coast, I just think that, and I want the language, not the titles of the groups, but the language in the ordinance so that it can't be magically faded away 6, 7, 8 years later. But if need be, the titles should be in a resolution so that we don't create some kind of, 8 years from now, people would say, what were they thinking that they made this so complicated that it can't be altered or corrected? So that would be my recommendation. And none of it's going to be approved today. It would come back when the language comes forward. But I want to leave, the room took a whole, the emotion in the room totally turned. It went from celebratory to all of a sudden, I'm sensing already, if it's happening in this room, multiply it by the whole entire county. I want the people to feel comfortable that this is going to be as legitimate an enterprise as could possibly be, whether that's perceived or real.
Thank you, Commissioner. That proposal makes an enormous amount of sense, so thank you.
Commissioner Hurd.
No, it doesn't. I don't want to tie our hands. I don't want to do this on the fly. That's just poor policy. I want to establish that there's going to be an oversight committee and that the Martin Forever and our staff will work together to iron those things out so that when it comes before us next time, it will be after much reflection, after much contemplation, after much thoughtfulness, after much
exactly what I
wisdom.
said.
No, you didn't. You wanted to make it 9 people, and you already said what those 9 people were going
No,
to be.
those are my personal suggestions. I said I want Martin County Forever to work as they have been with our staff. Then my suggestions are those. If they come back and say, we didn't care for those suggestions, I'd be more than happy to hear what it is.
Okay,
Those were
so-
just suggestions.
So the motion is to approve the sales tax and to come back with a resolution about the selection committee.
And that the committee itself be built into the ordinance so that it's there. That part should not have the ability to fall out.
I don't want to tie our hands once again.
I think this won't pass if you don't have that. It won't pass in November if you don't have that. I agree with what our friends from Martin Forever said. I hear that from people. I agree with what Doug said. I was involved in some of those decisions. But if the perception in the public is that they don't want it to be exclusively our decision, now remember, for 10 years, it's not going to be us. You have no idea who the next group of faces are going to be here. That part, I don't think it passes in November if you don't legitimize the Oversight Committee. That's what I've heard from the public.
Mr. Donaldson.
Commissioners, I think you're both saying similar things, but in different contexts. So I think the idea is that we'll work with Mr. Snedeker and the group, and we will craft language that is that can address, I think, both things. One, the committee, and then the types of individuals that will be in the committee without specifically referencing an individual group. Right, exactly. That's what I believe we can achieve that, and we'll bring that back in with the ordinance.
Okay. Commissioner Smith.
I want to add on to what Ed said with his number. A group that has not been mentioned and has not been discussed, but it is clearly the target, I would imagine, of most of the acquisition is rural ag, Martin County. If you don't have somebody on there from ag, somebody from ranching, some of us, I don't know if all of us, toured a couple ranches a couple of weeks ago. I would venture to guess that 90%, 99% of the people in this room have no idea agriculturally what's going on out west.
Agreed.
I agree.
And it is spectacular what they're doing.
District 3 and District 5 representatives could represent the ag communities as well, I would have.
When we're talking about interests as to making sure that the money that's going to be spent is spent with the confidence factor, if we don't make sure that it's abundantly clear to the largest group of landowners or land that we're going to go acquire in the first place, you'll never have willing sellers if they don't believe in it. And so as you are mulling this through your ideas, I just, to me, that was the most glaringly large thing left out that we absolutely have to figure out a way, and that means we go to 11 members, Ed? I don't know, but whatever.
No, I think you're right. The last time we had it, the committee was 15, or it was a big group, right?
It doesn't have to be 15.
No, I'm just saying, I completely agree with you. Let's leave it at that.
Okay, I'm going to chime in very briefly because I think we've probably covered all the bases here, and I agree with many of your thoughts. I do think that there has to be a transparency oversight committee. I think those devils in the details, we have time to work some of those out. I also believe that folks in the rural, ag land should be involved. I was up in Tallahassee and Wilton Simpson was telling me a little bit, knowing I'm from Martin County, about the rural and family lands programs. And the way I'm reading this language is that it is fee simple and/or conservation, the way the motion that's on the floor. So, I think that that's important too, if there's other monies available throughout the state of Florida, for us to be able to use some of our money to leverage, whether it's that program or others that they may come up with in the next several years. So, and I think that, this is certainly going to be, there's many people supporting it here. There are also those that are skeptical, so it's going to be a bit of a heavy lift. You're going to have to get out there and educate it. We can't do that. Everybody is very tax sensitive right now with insurance and all the things they're dealing with economically. So it's going to come down, do people realize that Martin County, and have to give credit to our predecessors who has preserved or acquired about 40% of Martin County already, making, when you look at the map and when I show residents that come into my office that are concerned that we're going to look like Broward County in the next couple years, when I show them the map, it gives them a little bit of comfort that there has been efforts to conserve and acquire some of this, and Martin County has done the right thing. So I think that certainly giving the voters the opportunity to provide their input and to vote for this is the way that I would like to go. And again, I believe it's going to be a hefty dialogue between all of the residents, but I would support having the initiative on the ballot, certainly. And with seeing no other lights, we did have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Campy.
Yes, the last thing I'd want to say is we're not raising your taxes today. We're voting to let the people decide what they want to do.
And the motion was seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So the motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Jenkins absent. Now,
Thank you. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
thank you, Merritt. Okay, so we're still in session, but unfortunately, there's some public that was here for an agenda item that I thought we would have time before lunch. We were going to take a break. Is everybody okay with reconvening at 1:30, or do you need more time? 1:30? Okay, we will reconvene at 1:30.